Chapter 375. A journey of 100,000 miles was merely a few hours for everyone. The East Ocean Stone Peak was their destination. When Lu Ming and the rest arrived, they saw a boundless stone forest. The area was made up of countless stone peaks, and each peak was more than 100 meters tall. The entrance to the East Ocean ancient battlefield is among these stone peaks. The entrance has not opened yet. Lucio explained. The group stopped not far away from the stone peaks and looked at them from afar. At this moment, Shifeng's surroundings were densely packed with people. Ha ha ha, Lucio, you're early. How many trash have you brought this time? At this moment, an arrogant laugh was heard. Then swoosh, swoosh. The sound of something breaking through the air could be heard as a large group of people flew towards them. There were a lot of people, and Lu Ming saw at least 600 to 700 of them. The leader was a skinny middle-aged man in a black robe. The group stopped not far away from Lu Ming, and the skinny middle-aged man looked at Lucio mockingly. Xiao Sui, it's you? Lucio's face darkened when he saw the skinny man. Haha, what's wrong? Lucio, you don't welcome me? Well, every time you lead the trash from the Cloud Emperor Mountain Range to the D Tian Divine Guard selection, you've failed miserably. The Cloud Emperor Mountain Range has not had anyone join the D Tian Divine Guard selection for 2 consecutive years. Compared to the Qianjiang Water region, it's a terrible sight. The skinny man, Xiao Sui, laughed mockingly. Lucio's face darkened. However, Xiao Sui obviously did not want to give up. He looked at the people from the Cloud Emperor Mountain Range and clicked his tongue. I didn't expect so many people from the Cloud Emperor Mountain Range to pass the preliminaries. Let me see how many there are. TSK, there's still 97 of you. Compared to the 689 people from the Qianjiang Water region, there's only a difference of 500 to 600. Also, Lucio, aren't you too cruel? These 97 people should be all the geniuses of the Cloud Emperor Mountain Range. If all of them die in the Dongming ancient battlefield, the Cloud Emperor Mountain Range will fall even further. Xiao Sui's triangular eyes scanned the people of the Cloud Emperor Mountain Range, full of mockery. Xiao Sui, Lucio's face was extremely ugly. The faces of the others in the Cloud Emperor Mountain Range turned ugly. Ha ha ha. A bunch of trash actually dares to think that they can pass the selection of the D Tian Divine Guards. They really don't know the immensity of heaven and earth, and are indulging in wild fantasies. In the Thousand Rivers region, some youths also laughed mockingly. The youths from the Qianjiang Water region looked at the Cloud Emperor Mountain Range with disdain. Damn it! Young Master Heavenly Snake, Blue Cloud, Taoist Tao, and the others were all proud and arrogant. How could they endure such contempt? They all gritted their teeth. Kid, it's you? Haha, I finally found you. Suddenly, an enraged roar could be heard from within the water domain. A young man flew out, staring coldly at Lu Ming. Li Qiushui. Lu Ming's eyes flickered. This young man was Li Qiushui. It seemed like the other party had already discovered him. Li Qiushui, what are you doing? You ran away so quickly the last time. Are you thanking me for not killing you this time? Lu Ming said with a smile. Kid, you deserve to die. Let's see who can save you this time. Li Qiushui roared. Oh, you can come and try then. Lu Ming looked at him from the corner of his eyes. Junior brother, is the kid you're talking about the trash from the Cloud Emperor Mountain Range? At this moment, a young man in a blue robe walked out from behind Li Qiushui and asked indifferently, Senior brother Jiang, that's right. It's him. Not only did he use despicable means to snatch the treasures that I obtained from the Heaven Gate, he even plotted against me and injured me. Li Qiushui said loudly, Despicable means? Plotting against you? Hearing such words, Lu Ming wanted to laugh. Li Qiushui was too shameless. Lu Ming had defeated him head-on, but he said that he had plotted against him. You're indeed from the Cloud Emperor mountain range. You only know how to plot against me. Kid, I'll give you 3 breaths' time to hand over the treasures that junior brother Li Qiushui obtained from the Heaven Gate. Then kneel down and admit your mistake in front of everyone. If so, I'll only cripple your cultivation and spare your life. Senior brother Jiang looked at Lu Ming coldly, speaking as if he was giving alms. Sigh, when is the Dongming battlefield going to open? I'm not in a good mood now that I've been surrounded by a few dogs barking at me. Lu Ming simply ignored senior brother Jiang and swept his gaze across the stone peaks. Senior brother Jiang's face turned pale. Lu Ming dared to ignore him. He was digging his own grave. Boom! A terrifying aura burst out from senior brother Jiang's body. A perfect aura was formed. Together with his powerful cultivation, it formed a strong pressure that spread across the entire place. At the Cloud Emperor mountain range, other than Jian Fengyun and Lu Xiu, everyone was shocked. Senior brother Jiang's strength was terrifying. The feeling that he gave off was comparable to Prince Tianxi, who was ranked second on the Cloud Emperor leaderboard. Lu Ming's face turned solemn as he looked at senior brother Jiang. Kid, go to hell. You won't even have the chance to beg for mercy now. Senior brother Jiang's face darkened. You talk too much. If you want to fight, let's fight. Lu Ming said coldly. He was fearless. With his current strength, even if he couldn't defeat senior brother Jiang wouldn't be able to stop him if he wanted to leave. Clang! At this moment, a sword chime was heard. A figure suddenly appeared between Lu Ming and senior brother Jiang. It was Jian Fengyun. Jian Fengyun. Senior brother Jiang's face turned solemn when he saw Jian Fengyun. Jian Fengyun had once roamed the Thousand River region, and senior brother Jiang had seen him before. There was only one person in the Cloud Emperor mountain range that he was wary of, and that was Jian Fengyun. He didn't care about the others at all. Jiang Chun, today is the day of the selection of the Emperor's Sky Divine Guards. Why? Aren't you afraid of offending the big shots of the Emperor's Sky Divine Palace by fighting here? Jian Fengyun looked at senior brother Jiang and said coldly, Ha! Jian Fengyun, I advise you not to interfere. Otherwise, I won't just leave a scar on your face like the previous time. I'll take your life. At this moment, a loud laugh was heard from the Thousand River region. A handsome young man walked out. Jian Fengyun's face turned solemn when he saw the young man. Back when he was roaming the Thousand River region, he was injured by this person. This person was the 18th genius in the Thousand River region. Jian Fengyun had fought with him for hundreds of moves and was defeated in one move. That was then. Now I'll win. Jian Fengyun's eyes were like 2 divine swords that were filled with confidence. Win. What a joke. The handsome young man sneered in disdain. A great battle was about to break out. Zhao Sui looked on coldly from the side, waiting to watch a good show. On the other hand, Lu Xiu's face was extremely gloomy. The geniuses of the Cloud Emperor mountain range and the geniuses of the Thousand River region were like eggs hitting a rock. There was no way to compare, and the outcome would be miserable. Chapter 376. Boom. Boom. At this moment, several terrifying auras appeared in the sky. They were as unfathomable as the ocean. Everyone was shocked as they looked up and saw 4 figures appear in the sky above the stone peaks. These 4 figures were standing in 4 different directions of the stone peak. Each of them was shining with a bright light. Some were gold, some were red, and some were blue. They couldn't see their real bodies, but their auras were too shocking. Kings, they are kings. The kings have appeared. The entrance to the Dongming ancient battlefield is about to open. Someone shouted. The tense atmosphere between Lu Ming and the geniuses of the Qianjiang water zone eased. Wang, Wang. The four kings made their moves. Rays of bright light shot out from their hands and entered the stone peaks. At this moment, the stone peaks glowed and countless inscriptions flashed. Kid, you better hand over those treasures. Otherwise, even if we don't kill you now, you will die once we enter the Dongming ancient battlefield. Li Qiushui looked coldly at Lu Ming. Lu Ming curled his lips and ignored him. Li Qiushui's face turned red. Junior brother Li, why are you talking so much to him? Once we enter the Dongming ancient battlefield, just kill him. Not only do we have to kill him, we have to kill everyone from the Cloud Emperor mountain range until they surrender. Jiang Chun said with a cold smile. That's right, that's what I want. It's time to let these barbarians know how powerful we are, the handsome young man said with a cold smile. Hearing this, the geniuses of the Cloud Emperor mountain range were shocked. There were so many people in the Qianjiang water zone and countless geniuses. If they really attacked them, their trip to the Dongming ancient battlefield would be in danger. Damn it, it's all Lu Ming's fault. Young Liuji roared in his heart. He wasn't strong enough and would be in trouble if he encountered the experts of the Qianjiang water zone. Go ahead. Lu Ming smiled faintly. Hee, let's wait and see at the Dongming ancient battlefield. At this moment, Zhao Sui laughed coldly and flew to the side. The geniuses of the Qianjiang water zone glanced at them unkindly and followed Zhao Sui to the side. Wang, Wang. At this moment, the countless stone peaks shone even brighter. Countless inscriptions appeared and gathered in the sky, gradually forming a large array. Open! The four martial emperors uttered a roar. Suddenly, the formation condensed, and a black vortex appeared in the sky. This whirlpool was incomparably huge. It covered the boundless stone peak and was incomparably boundless. This is the entrance to the Eastern Underworld ancient battlefield. It's too big. Countless people were dumbfounded. All right, the Dongming ancient battlefield has opened. You can enter now. An imperious voice came out from one of the emperors. Let's go in. Let's go. Immediately, the crowd flew toward the vortex. Remember, all of you should try your best to enter together. That way, when you arrive at the Dongming ancient battlefield, you will have a higher chance of being teleported to a close distance. Lu Xiu instructed. Everyone nodded, and the group of 98 people rushed toward the vortex. As soon as they rushed into the vortex, they felt the sky and earth spinning. Lu Ming and the others disappeared without a trace. Kill! Kill! Lu Ming began to feel the sky and earth spinning. In the next moment, earth-shattering shouts rang in his ears. Lu Ming's eyes swept over, and his pupils rapidly shrank in shock. In front of him, countless figures were crisscrossing in the sky. The smell of blood permeated the air. There was a fierce battle going on here. Boom! Large hands blotted out the sky. Sword chi cut through the sky. Spear light pierced through heaven and earth. Flames burned everything. Strong, too strong. Countless experts that Lu Ming could not imagine were fighting. The entire world was torn apart. Incomparably powerful experts were killed one after another. Their corpses fell to the ground like dumplings. What's going on? Where is this? Lu Ming was shocked. Whoosh! Suddenly, a sword light slashed toward Lu Ming. This sword light seemed to come from the depths of the universe. Space was torn apart. It was boundlessly terrifying. Lu Ming's strength was insignificant in front of this sword light. Ah! Lu Ming let out a long cry. He was unwilling to be killed just like that. He wanted to resist with all his might. Boom! He felt his vision turn black. In the next moment, he opened his eyes. There was a gentle breeze, and the fragrance of flowers assailed his nostrils. Lu Ming realized that he was standing on a grassland. The grassland was filled with wildflowers. The terrifying battlefield just now had disappeared without a trace. Could it be that everything just now was an illusion? This place is called the Dongming Ancient Battlefield. Perhaps it's just a reflection of the real scene back then. Lu Ming guessed. Perhaps everyone who had just entered would have seen the scene just now. It was condensed from an immortal battle intent. It flowed between heaven and earth, and even time couldn't decay it. This ancient battlefield is probably not simple. According to the records, the Dongming Ancient Battlefield is just a corner of another ancient battlefield. It was separated from the original world and was condensed by the experts of the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace. Lu Ming pondered. At this moment, his expression changed. A 10,000 miles voice transmission talisman appeared in his hand. There was a message from Jian Fengyun. He had gathered the people of the Cloud Emperor mountain range at a place. It's in the north. If I can receive the 10,000 miles voice transmission talisman, it means that it's within 10,000 miles. Let's go and take a look. Lu Ming's eyes flickered. He intended to act alone. However, since it wasn't far away, there was no harm in taking a look. He soared into the air and headed north. He arrived at a distance of less than 10,000 miles in an instant. There were already dozens of people gathered by a small lake. All of them were geniuses of the Cloud Emperor mountain range. When Lu Ming arrived, everyone's eyes were on him. Swish, swish. Suddenly, a few figures flashed and surrounded Lu Ming in the middle. They were Blue Cloud, Yan Feishuan, Yang Liuji, and a few others. Lu Ming, you actually dare to gather here. You're courting death. It's not easy to kill you outside, but there's no need to worry about the Dongming Ancient Battlefield. Blue Cloud said. Yan Feishuan and the others' voices were extremely cold. You want to kill me with just a few pieces of trash? Ridiculous. Lu Ming's eyes flickered as he smiled faintly. Lu Ming, don't think that you're stronger than me just because your score was higher than mine in the preliminaries. Now, I'll let you know my true strength. Great Sun Divine Fist. Yan Feishuan roared. His fist was glowing as he threw out a punch. A resplendent sun appeared and blasted towards Lu Ming. Its power was several times stronger than Yang Liuji's Great Sun Divine Fist. Boom. Lu Ming was very direct. He swept out his long spear and merged the power of wind and fire. Puff! Yan Feishuan's Great Sun Divine Fist was like a small flame that was extinguished. The spear light did not stop and blasted on Yan Feishuan's body. Yan Feishuan screamed as his body flew out like a cannonball for 1,000 meters. He coughed out mouthfuls of blood. His face was pale, and his eyes were filled with horror. You dare to say that you're strong? Chapter 377. There was a dead silence. Most of the people looked at Lu Ming in disbelief. Lu Ming is too strong, right? During the qualifiers, although Lu Ming's points were higher than Yan Feishuan's, it wasn't by much. Their combat strength should be at the same level. Now, Lu Ming had beaten Yan Feishuan to the point where he coughed up blood. How could they be at the same level? Blue Cloud Dao's face froze. His eyes were filled with disbelief and shock. Even he couldn't injure Yan Feishuan in one move. Could it be that Lu Ming's combat strength is above his? How is that possible? Yang Liuji's face was pale. His eyes were wide open and he almost peed in his pants. Lu Ming's combat strength is too scary. Lu Ming, what are you doing? You've just arrived and you've injured your own people, reducing the strength of our Cloud Emperor mountain range. What are you trying to do? Blue Cloud Dao rolled his eyes and suddenly shouted, That's right, Lu Ming. You've offended the people of Qianjiang Water Region, and you're making us the scapegoat. I suggest that Lu Ming leave the team. The person that Qianjiang Water Region wants is Lu Ming, not us. As long as Lu Ming isn't here, the people of Qianjiang Water Region shouldn't make things difficult for us. Yang Liuji, who was hiding behind Blue Cloud Dao, shouted, Since they can't beat Lu Ming, they'll use force to suppress Lu Ming and force Lu Ming to leave the team. That's right, Lu Ming. If you're in the team, all of us will be harmed by you. Blue Cloud Dao also shouted. The rest of the people also looked at Lu Ming unkindly. They felt that Blue Cloud Dao and Yang Liuji's words made sense. You want me to leave? Even if you don't say anything, I'll leave. But before I leave, I'll kill a few of you. Lu Ming sneered. Swish! Lu Ming stabbed his spear towards Blue Cloud Dao. Spear light burst out. Whoosh! At this moment, a figure flashed and appeared in front of Blue Cloud. A jet black sword light slashed out and collided with Lu Ming's spear light. Boom! Qi energy shot out in all directions. Lu Ming's body swayed, and he retreated 3 steps. Young Master Tian Shi. The person who suddenly attacked was young Master Sky Snake. Young Master Tian Shi's face was gloomy as he looked at Lu Ming and said, Lu Ming, you've gone too far. You did something wrong and implicated others. Now you actually want to kill people. Do you really think you're invincible? Oh, seems like you want to meddle in other people's business? Lu Ming sneered. What do you mean by meddling in other people's business? Brother Lon is my best friend. Moreover, he's right. You should get out of the team to avoid harming others. Young Master Tian, she said sinisterly. Reptile, let's see if you can stop me. Lu Ming exuded a powerful aura. What did you say? You're courting death. Young Master Tian, she emitted a cold, murderous intent. Lu Ming actually dared to call him a reptile. Damn it! Young Master Tian, she exuded a terrifying aura. He was much stronger than Blue Cloud Dao. And the rest. Young Master Tian, she was ranked 2nd on the Cloud Emperor leaderboard and could compete with Jian Fengyun. He was definitely not someone Blue Cloud Dao could compare to. His combat strength was terrifying. Lu Ming was probably not his match now. However, Lu Ming was fearless. Even if he was not his match, it was impossible for young Master Tian Shi to kill him. Everyone, this Lu Ming is a scourge. Leaving him alive will only cause our deaths. Why don't we attack together and kill him? At this time, Blue Cloud Dao shouted to the others in the Cloud Emperor mountain range. The others' eyes flickered. That's right. I agree with Brother Lon. Someone stood out and looked at Lu Ming with murderous intent. I agree too. More than 10 people stood out one after another. Together with young Master Tian Shi and Blue Cloud Dao, they formed a powerful force and pressed down on Lu Ming. Among them, there was a genius like Ji Rufeng, who was ranked 7th on the Cloud Emperor leaderboard. However, there were also some people who stood still. Ha, Lu Ming, you have become the public enemy. Surrender now. Blue Cloud Dao sneered. Do you think you can kill me with just the likes of you? Lu Ming Dao sneered. He was not afraid at all. Everyone. At this time, Jian Fengyun walked out and frowned. The incident at Qianjiang Water Region has nothing to do with Lu Ming. Qianjiang Water Region has always looked down on us. Even without Lu Ming, I'm afraid they will not show mercy to us. Why? Jian Fengyun, are you going to protect Lu Ming? Young Master Tian Shi asked. I'm not protecting anyone. I'm just speaking the truth. Jian Fengyun Dao frowned even more. Jian Fengyun, if you want to protect Lu Ming, then there is no way for us to work together. Let's leave. Young Master Tian, she said coldly. He. At this time, Lu Mingdao sneered. His gaze swept over young Master Tian Shi, Blue Cloud Dao, and the others. Murderous intent flickered in his eyes as he said, "Didn't you want me to leave? I'll leave, but the next time we meet, I will kill all of you." Today, Lu Mingdao wanted to kill Blue Cloud Dao, Yang Liuji, and the others in one fell swoop to eliminate future troubles. However, with young Master Tianshi's interference, it would be difficult. Moreover, Lu Mingdao estimated that Jian Fengyun Dao would intervene if a battle were to break out. Jian Fengyun Dao would not be biased, but with his interference, it would be impossible to kill Blue Cloud Dao and the others. Since that was the case, it would be better for him to leave first and raise his cultivation and battle strength. The next time, he would kill Blue Cloud Dao and young Master Tianshi. There's also Qiu Changkong. Lu Mingdao swept his gaze around, but he did not see Qiu Changkong's figure. It seemed like Qiu Changkong did not teleport nearby. Next time, you're the one who will die. Young Master Tianshi sneered. He also wanted to kill Lu Mingdao, but with Jian Fengyun Dao's interference, he knew that it was impossible. Is that so? Lu Mingdao sneered, and his figure flashed as he quickly left the place. Seeing Lu Mingdao leave, young Master Tianshi, Blue Cloud Dao, and the others sneered. The night in the Dongming ancient battlefield is extremely dangerous. Lu Mingdao, let's see how you're going to survive alone. You still want to have a next time? Dream on. Blue Cloud Dao laughed loudly in his heart. Swoosh! Lu Mingdao soared into the sky and was already 10,000 miles away in a short moment. I must find a way to raise my strength as soon as possible. Otherwise, I'm afraid it will be difficult to achieve anything in the Dongming ancient battlefield, where geniuses are as common as clouds. Lu Mingdao pondered. This area was full of life, unlike the desolate and deathly silent battlefield that he had imagined. It seemed that after a long time, this land had recovered its vitality. From time to time, he could see groups of demonic beasts. However, these demonic beasts were not of high levels, so Lu Mingdao had no interest in hunting them. Also, it's best to find an ancient city before nightfall. Otherwise, it will be very dangerous. Lu Mingdao frowned. 2 days ago, he had also studied the records of the Dongming ancient battlefield. According to the records, the Dongming ancient battlefield would become very strange and dangerous at night. Lu Mingdao continued to fly forward. Soon, a vast mountain appeared in front of him. Ancient trees towered over the vast mountain, and the roars of beasts were continuous. Lu Mingdao did not stop and flew over the mountain. Caw! Before he could fly far, a sharp cry rang out. A huge strange bird rushed out from the forest, flapping its wings and creating gusts of wind. A pair of sharp iron claws grabbed at Lu Mingdao. A Class 7 4th, level demonic beast. Chapter 378. A Class 7 LV4 demonic beast was equivalent to a martial arts Grandmaster LV7 martial artist. Finally, a high-level demonic beast. Lu Ming's eyes flashed. At the same time, a long spear appeared in his hand. Whoosh! The long spear pierced through the air and pierced the strange bird's chest. The strange bird cried out. A large hole was blasted open in its chest. It was completely devoid of life as it fell from the sky. Whoosh! Lu Ming rushed forward and controlled the 9 dragons' bloodline to devour the blood essence of the strange bird. At the same time, he split open the strange bird's body and took out a monster pill. Lu Ming would not miss the monster pill of a Class 7 LV4 demonic beast. The 9 dragons' bloodline swallowed the monster pill and began to refine it. A part of the blood essence and monster pill's energy was converted into genuine qi. Unfortunately, Lu Ming's current cultivation was only at martial arts Grandmaster LV5. The blood essence and monster pill of a Class 7 LV4 demonic beast were of limited use to him. There seems to be high-level demonic beasts in this forest. I'll hunt them while I search for the ancient city. After making up his mind, Lu Ming continued to fly forward. Roar! Not long after, there was a loud roar. A ferocious tiger, with two heads, dashed out of the forest and pounced on Lu Ming. After a while, the tiger's blood essence and monster pill were converted into Lu Ming's genuine qi. The forest was very large. Lu Ming had been flying for 5 or 6 hours, but he still could not fly out of the forest. In the process, Lu Ming had killed more than a dozen Class 7 and 8 LV4 demonic beasts, and refined their blood essence and monster pills. Lu Ming's cultivation was only at the peak of the early stage of martial arts Grandmaster LV5. He had not reached the middle stage of martial arts Grandmaster LV5. Lu Ming was speechless. At this time, the sun had set and night had begun to fall. Since the sun had set, the forest had become quiet. There was no sound at all, other than the sound of the wind. All other living creatures seemed to have disappeared at this moment. It was as if all other living creatures had disappeared at once. Heaven and earth were silent. Lu Ming frowned and rushed down the forest. Sure enough, there was not a single demonic beast in the forest. Not even a single insect could be seen. Lu Ming advanced through the forest, his gaze sweeping the area. After a while, he made a discovery. A wolf-shaped demonic beast was hiding in an underground cave that was more than 10 meters deep. It was shivering in fear. Lu Ming frowned as he left the underground cavern and continued forward. At some point in time, the sky was filled with thick, dark clouds, and the world was plunged into darkness. Even with Lu Ming's cultivation, he could only see a few hundred meters away. Huff, huff, gusts of cold wind blew past, and it was especially eerie. Lu Ming frowned. With a flicker, he landed on a large tree and observed his surroundings. Ga, ga, ga. Suddenly, a series of strange cries rang out in the distance. The cries seemed to be coming closer and closer, as if they were rushing towards Lu Ming. Ga, ga, ga. The cries grew louder and noisier. It didn't seem to be coming from one thing, but from many things. But in the next moment, those voices suddenly disappeared without a trace. Where did you go? Lu Ming's eyes flashed. Huff, huff, a gust of cold wind blew past Lu Ming's neck. Not good. Without thinking, Lu Ming soared into the sky. Qi, a cold and sharp force, swept past Lu Ming's body and hit the big tree that Lu Ming had just landed on. The big tree was directly cut in two and fell to the ground. Jie, jie, chi, chi. The strange cries rang out again. At the same time, a cold and sharp force attacked Lu Ming. What the hell is this? Die for me. Lu Ming swept out with his long spear. But Lu Ming felt that the long spear swept out, as if it was sweeping the air, and there was no place to exert force. In the next moment, a cold force attacked from behind Lu Ming. Swish! In an instant, Lu Ming's body soared into the sky. Looking down from the sky, Lu Ming finally saw what attacked him. 7 or 8 black shadows in human form. Their facial features couldn't be seen clearly. They were drifting in the air at an extremely fast speed. These damn things can't be real ghosts, can they? Lu Ming was shocked. He felt that it was very possible. This was an ancient battlefield. Countless creatures had died in the past. Blood flowed like rivers, and resentment filled the sky. It was possible for ghosts and evil creatures like ghosts to be born. 9 dragons stomping the sky. Lu Ming stomped down. Buzz. An inexplicable vibration spread out. A terrifying force erupted from Lu Ming's feet. Vaguely, there was even the sound of a dragon's roar. Jie, those black ghosts seemed to be very frightened. They let out ear-piercing and unpleasant cries. But under the 9 dragons stomping the sky steps, they instantly turned into ashes and dissipated. It seems that the 9 dragons stomping the sky steps has a miraculous effect on these damn things. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. It made sense. Dragons were powerful creatures that stood at the peak of all things in the world. They were sacred and could not be offended, not to mention the 9 dragons that were stronger than ordinary true dragons. The 9 dragons stomping the sky steps was named after the 9 dragons stomping the sky. It naturally contained the will of the 9 dragons. With one step, the evil spirits retreated and the ghosts dissipated. Jie, but these black ghosts were defeated. The ear-piercing cries came from afar again. More spirits were charging towards them. Let's get out of here first. Lu Ming took a step forward and quickly flew into the distance. In the pitch-black world, the strange cries continued. Lu Ming looked around. There were black shadows flying everywhere. It was like a group of demons dancing. Chi. A few spirits flew toward Lu Ming, emitting beams of cold and sinister energy. Boom! Lu Ming swept out with his spear. 100-meter-long spear light shattered the cold forces and scattered the ghosts at the same time. But in the next moment, those ghosts gathered together again. However, they seem to have become smaller. It's not completely ineffective. Using force to attack still has some effect. It's just that the effect is not as good. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. Swish, swish. Then he swept out 2 more times. The thick spear light blasted out, containing the powerful force of wind and fire. The ghosts were scattered again. When they gathered again, they were much smaller. Lu Ming did not stop and rushed past. There were more ghosts blocking his way. Lu Ming scattered them in the same way. This was all thanks to Lu Ming's fusion of wind and fire. If it was just one force, even if it was perfect, it would not have such an effect. As for the 9 dragons stomping the sky steps, although the effect was good, it consumed too much energy. Lu Ming would not use it unless it was necessary. Just like that, Lu Ming rushed forward. But after 100 miles, Lu Ming suddenly stopped and looked ahead in shock. Kacha. In front of him, there was actually a group of soldiers in iron armor. However, the iron armor on each soldier was tattered and full of saber and sword marks. It was full of the aura of time. Every soldier held a large black iron sword in their hands, and they were filled with fighting spirit. But the terrifying thing was that it was impossible to see the faces of each soldier. At a glance, it was a black fog. In the place where their eyes were, there were 2 scarlet lights. Are these the legendary ghost soldiers? Lu Ming gasped a breath of cold air. The group of ghost soldiers walked forward step by step and disappeared into the darkness. No one knew where they were going. This ancient battlefield is indeed evil and terrifying. No wonder it is said to be extremely dangerous at night. Chapter 379. Just like that, Lu Ming moved forward very slowly. After a few hours, Lu Ming had only traveled a few thousand miles. Boom, boom. Suddenly, there was a violent roar in front of him, as well as the strange cry of the spirits. Someone was besieged by the spirits. Lu Ming's figure flashed and approached, only to find that it was a young man and a young woman who were surrounded by more than a dozen black spirits. The young man and woman were both at the early stage of the 5th level. They were considered geniuses and could fight across 2 levels. But among the geniuses who came in this time, they were considered inferior. At this time, they were surrounded by danger, and their bodies were covered with wounds, which were obviously caused by the black spirits. "Little sister, go quickly, I'll hold them back." The young man shouted. "Big brother, if you want to go, you go, I'll hold them back." The young woman also shouted. However, with their combat strength and great accomplishment, the damage to the spirits was minimal, and they couldn't break away from the encirclement of the black spirits. The two of them rushed left and right, but it was useless. Instead, they attracted more spirits. "Damn it, I'll fight it out with you." The young man roared, holding his saber and slashing wildly, but it was useless. Those spirits were cut apart and condensed again, not shrinking much. Instead, there were a few more wounds on his body. "Big brother!" The young woman screamed in despair. "Little sister, go!" The young man ignored her and continued to attack those spirits. But everything was in vain, just when the two of them were in despair. Boom! In the distance, spears shot out and pierced the bodies of those specters. In an instant, those specters were scattered. The young man and woman were stunned at first, then ecstatically rushed out together and escaped the encirclement of the spirits. In the next moment, those spirits condensed again, but their size was much smaller. "They're so small." The young man and woman were extremely shocked. Both of them were in the middle stage of the great accomplishment, but the effect was extremely weak when attacking these spirits. But the spear light just now made the spirits shrink by a lot. The power contained in the spear light was simply incredible. Even if it was in the perfect stage, it was impossible to have such power. The two of them hurriedly looked in the direction of the spear light. A young figure strode over. He was ridiculously young, not even 20 years old. This person was, of course, Lu Ming. Gaga. At this moment, the specters rushed towards Lu Ming's group. "Not good. Brother, run." The young man's expression changed drastically as he shouted, "If I don't get rid of these specters, I'll be able to leave, but you won't be able to." Lu Ming said indifferently, "Solve? This kind of specter is simply difficult to deal with. Brother, I beg you, please save my little sister and leave. I will hold back these specters." The young man shouted anxiously. He raised his saber and was about to step forward. "No, we're leaving together." The young woman also shouted, "Little sister, don't be stubborn. Otherwise, you won't be able to leave." The young man roared, "Whoosh, whoosh." At the same time, he slashed out with his saber. Saber light slashed out and cut the spirits in half. However, it was useless. The spirits recovered and continued to attack. "Let's go." The young man shouted, "Your little sister is right. If we're leaving together." At this moment, Lu Ming smiled faintly and suddenly stepped out. Boom! A terrifying force spread out in front of him. Bam! 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 The dozen or so specters exploded one after another like balloons. After they exploded, they couldn't condense at all. They directly turned into energy and dissipated. The young man and woman were stunned. A single kick had destroyed the specters, and they couldn't condense at all. What kind of strength was this? Or rather, what kind of force was this? How could it be so terrifying? According to their understanding, these specters were extremely difficult to destroy. Even a perfect force wouldn't have much effect. Those exceptional geniuses with high cultivation would most likely die if they were to face these specters alone. Only those exceptional geniuses who had comprehended a trace of intent through force would be able to quickly kill these specters. However, there weren't many of such geniuses in the entire Tianxian region. To comprehend a trace of intent through force, such a person could be called a half-king as long as his cultivation reached the peak of martial ancestor realm 9th level. How many people could reach this stage in their 20s. Could this young man, who wasn't even 20 years old, be that kind of genius? The young man and woman let their imagination run wild. Let's go now. Lu Ming interrupted their days and took the lead to fly to the front. The young man and woman hurriedly followed. The reason why Lu Ming saved the two of them wasn't because he was merciful. He just felt that the two of them had a deep sibling relationship and were willing to sacrifice themselves in the face of danger. Lu Ming was touched and saved them in passing, with Lu Ming leading the way. As long as they didn't encounter too many specters, there wouldn't be any problems. The three of them moved forward, and time slowly passed. 5 to 6 hours later, the sky began to brighten. Purple chi came from the east, and a ray of sunlight shone on the earth. The moment the sunlight appeared, the specters between heaven and earth disappeared without a trace. The dark clouds in the sky also dispersed. Soon after, the cries of insects and the roars of beasts could be heard. The scene was full of vitality, and everything returned to normal as if nothing had happened. The three of them let out a sigh of relief and were inwardly amazed. This Dongming ancient battlefield was truly mysterious. Brother, I am Songyu, and this is my younger sister, Songjing. Thank you for saving us this time. Otherwise, we would have died in this ancient battlefield. The young man bowed towards Lu Ming. Brother Song, you don't have to be so polite. I just happened to be passing by and helped you along the way. Lu Ming smiled and said, no matter what, we will remember brother's kindness in our hearts. All right, may I know brother's name? Songyu cupped his fists and said. Songjing was obviously more shy. She blinked her big eyes and looked at Lu Ming without speaking. I am Lu Ming. Lu Ming said, so it's brother Lu. Songyu clasped his fists again. I don't know what you two are planning to do next. To be honest, with your cultivation, I'm afraid it's not good for you two to be outside at night. Lu Ming asked. The two of us were unlucky. When we were teleported in, we were separated from the people in our area. We didn't know how far away we were, so we could only find a city to hide in. According to our family elders, there should be a small city not far from this forest. We wanted to hide there, but before we could reach it, it was already dark. Songyu explained. Is there a small city in front? Lu Ming asked. One of our family elders went to the Dongming ancient battlefield to participate in the selection 100 years ago. According to him, there should be a small city in front. Brother Lu, why don't we go together? Chapter 380. All right. Lu Ming nodded. He also wanted to find a city to stay in. Otherwise, he wouldn't be in the mood to cultivate at night. Songyu and Songjing were overjoyed to see Lu Ming agree. Immediately, the three of them continued along the mountain range. Tens of thousands of miles passed in a flash. After tens of thousands of miles, they finally walked out of the forest. After the forest, there was a plain. The three of them flew for a few more hours. Finally, a small city appeared in front of them. The three of them were overjoyed and hurriedly flew over. The city wasn't big, only a few miles in radius. There are people on the city wall. Songjing whispered. Lu Ming and the others also saw it. It seemed that someone had arrived at the city earlier. There were about a dozen people standing on the city wall. Outside the city, there were 1 or 2 people who seemed to be talking to the people on the city wall. However, they were too far away to hear clearly. The three of them flew directly toward the city. Swoosh, swoosh. However, when the three of them approached the city, several sharp sword cheese shot towards the three of them. The three of their expressions changed. They stopped abruptly and avoided the sword chi. Their expressions were ugly as they stared at the city wall. The sword chi just now came from the city wall. What are you doing? Why are you stopping us from entering the city? Songyu shouted. Hee hee, you can enter the city if you pay 10 million spirit crystals each. A young man on the city wall sneered. This young man was dressed in a black robe with a skull embroidered on it. In fact, the other dozen young men on the city wall were dressed in the same way. They wore black robes with skeletons on them and were obviously from the same force. 10 million spirit crystals? You're clearly taking advantage of the situation. Song Yu shouted. Robbery? Don't make it sound so bad. This is called a refuge fee. You can take refuge in the city after paying the spirit crystals. The black-robed, skeleton-like man smiled, faintly. Why? This city is a public place. Why should we pay you a refuge fee? Below the city wall, there were two other young men who had arrived earlier than Lu Ming and the others. They shouted at this moment. Why? Because we're stronger and we're disciples of the Serene Demon Palace. Hurry up and pay. If you don't pay, get lost. If you don't, you'll end up like that. The black-robed young man shouted coldly as he pointed a finger into the distance. Everyone looked over and saw several corpses. They were all youths. Those who paid the spiritual crystals have all gone in to rest. Those who didn't pay the spiritual crystals and tried to force their way in will end up like them. The black-robed skeleton shouted coldly. The faces of the two young men, Song Yu and Song Jing, were extremely ugly. The disciples of the Serene Devil Palace were too overbearing. Moreover, the dozen or so Serene Devil Palace disciples all exuded powerful auras. There were 13 people in total, and 6 of them were emitting auras of the peak 5th-layer martial ancestor realm. The other 7 were all 6th-layer martial ancestor realm experts. 2 of them even emitted peak 6th-layer martial ancestor realm auras. Those who could enter the Dark East ancient battlefield were all geniuses. At the very least, they could fight opponents 2 levels above them. Some could even exceed 2 levels. This was an extremely powerful force. Even the weakest of them could be ranked on the Cloud Emperor ranking list in the 36 countries of Emperor Yun. The 2 strongest youths were at the peak of the 6th-layer martial ancestor realm. They were definitely not weaker than Blue Cloud. As for Song Yu and Song Jing, they were only at the early stage of the 5th-layer martial ancestor realm. The other 2 youths were only at the late stage of the 5th-layer martial ancestor realm. The difference was too great. At this moment, should they retreat or advance? If they retreated, they would have to face countless spirits at night. There might even be other eerie things. Death was the only way out. However, if they were to advance, they would have to pay 10 million spiritual crystals each. 10 million spiritual crystals was a huge sum even for genius martial ancestor realm experts like them. Although they could afford it, it would hurt them greatly. We'll pay. The other 2 youths hesitated for a moment before they finally made up their minds. They gritted their teeth, and each took out a storage ring and handed it to the black-robed skeleton. The black-robed skeleton checked the storage ring and said with a satisfied smile, "At least you know what's good for you. Go in." The 2 youths flew into the city with ugly expressions. "We'll pay too." Song Yu said with a sigh, "Pay? I've never had the habit of giving spiritual crystals to others for free." At this moment, Lu Ming smiled faintly. His words naturally reached the black-robed skeleton's ears. The black-robed skeleton who had been talking previously looked coldly at Lu Ming and said, "Brat, if you're not going to pay, get lost. Don't be an eyesore here. Otherwise, I don't mind getting rid of you." He could see the cultivation levels of Song Yu, Song Jing, and Lu Ming. They were all trash in the early stage of martial ancestor realm, and he did not take them seriously. Get lost? You're the ones who should get lost. Now get lost. I want this city. Lu Ming shouted. Everyone was dumbfounded. What did Lu Ming just say? He wanted the people from the serene demon palace to get lost. He wanted to take over the city. Crazy, crazy. This brat must be crazy. Even Song Yu and Song Jing were shocked. What was Lu Ming doing? Was he going to fight the people from the serene demon palace? It was impossible for him to win. Although they knew that Lu Ming's force was extremely powerful and was even stronger than a perfected force. Lu Ming's cultivation level was only in the early stage of martial ancestor realm. No matter how strong his combat strength was, even if he was an extremely rare Battle 3 talent, he would not be a match for the people from the Serene Demon Palace. There was actually a popular name for those geniuses who could fight beyond their level. They were called Battle 3 talents. For example, those who could fight beyond one level were called Battle 1 talents. Those who could fight beyond 2 levels were called Battle 2 talents. Those who could fight beyond 3 levels were called Battle 3 talents. Of course, this referred to fighting beyond one's level in the martial ancestor realm. For other realms, they were not called that. Most of the peerless geniuses were Battle 2 talents. Those who could surpass Battle 2 talents were few and far between. As for those who could reach the level of Battle 3, that was even rarer than phoenix feathers and Qilin horns. For example, Blue Cloud said Li Qiushui and even Prince Sky Snake were between Battle 2 and Battle 3. Lu Ming speculated that Jian Fengyan might be a Battle 3 talent. Brat, what did you say? The black-robed skeleton thought he had heard wrongly. I told you to get lost. Lu Ming repeated himself. Ha ha ha, you told us to get lost? You're just trash in the early stage of martial ancestor realm. Today you're dead meat. Even if you're a Battle 3 talent, you'll still die today. Kill him. The black-robed skeleton waved his hand. Die. Immediately, a disciple from the Serene Demon Palace flew out, and a sharp sword light pierced towards Lu Ming's throat. This youth was at the peak of martial ancestor realm 5th level, and was a Battle 2 talent. Unless Lu Ming was a Battle 3 talent, he would definitely die. You're the one who's going to die. Lu Ming shouted coldly, and took a step forward. At the same time, a spear light shot out. Puff! The spear light pierced through the chest of the youth from the Serene Demon Palace. The youth from the Serene Demon Palace screamed, and his body was sent flying by the spear light. With a clang, he was stabbed into the city wall. Chapter 381. What? How is this possible? Everyone stared with their eyes wide open. The commotion had alerted the people in the city. 7 or 8 people flew into the sky to observe the battle. It was obvious that they had paid 10 million spiritual crystals to enter the city. How dare you? The black-robed skeleton roared. The eyes of the other youths from the Serene Demon Palace turned cold as a powerful aura burst out from their bodies and suppressed Lu Ming. To be able to kill a peak 5th layer martial ancestor realm World War II genius with a single strike, he was definitely a Battle 3 genius. Brat, how dare you kill someone from the Serene Demon Palace? Even if you're a Battle 3 genius, you will die today. One of the youths from the Serene Demon Palace yelled coldly. The aura he emitted was extremely terrifying and had reached the peak 6th layer martial ancestor realm. He and the black-robed skeleton, who had been talking, were the strongest among the youths from the Serene Demon Palace. Is that so? Let's see who will kill who then. Holding the spear in one hand, Lu Ming walked toward the city step by step. Kill! Let's attack together and kill him. The black-robed skeleton waved his hand. Instantly, the youths from the Serene Demon Palace roared as their figures flashed rapidly. Their bodies emitted a black glow as they slashed toward Lu Ming. Even an ordinary expert of the early stage 9th layer martial ancestor realm would be blasted into pieces in an instant. Not to mention that Lu Ming was a Battle 3 genius. Even if he was a Battle-4 genius, he would still die. However, was it possible for him to be a Battle-4 genius? However, they would never have imagined that Lu Ming was already a Battle-4 genius before his wind force had reached the greater success stage. Now, he had surpassed the Battle-4 genius. 9 dragons stomping the sky. Lu Ming yelled as his figure soared into the sky and took a step forward. This step merged with the wind force and fire force. Boom! It was as if 9 dragons were stepping into the sky and surveying the world. This step ignored the number of people and exploded with a loud bang. Bang! Bang! The bodies of the geniuses from the Serene Demon Palace who were below the 6th-layer martial ancestor realm exploded without even having the chance to scream. Those above the 6th-layer martial ancestor realm spat out mouthfuls of blood as their bodies emitted cracking sounds. It was unknown how many of their bones had been broken. Even the 2 geniuses at the peak of the 6th-layer martial ancestor realm spat out mouthfuls of blood and backed off rapidly. Song Yu, Song Jing, and the dozen or so young men who had taken refuge in the city were all staring with their eyes wide open. Their mouths were wide open, and they couldn't stop gasping. This scene was simply too terrifying. With a single step, more than a dozen geniuses from the Serene Demon Palace were either killed or injured. Even the 2 peak 6th-layer martial ancestor realm geniuses spat out mouthfuls of blood. Most importantly, Lu Ming was only in the early stage of the 5th stage of the martial ancestor realm. How was that possible? How many battles did he have? How could there be such an expert in this world? Damn it! Damn it! Let's go! Let's go! He's a peerless monster. Let's leave first and wait for Senior Brother Yu and the others to return before we kill him. The black-robed skeleton roared. He was scared out of his wits. You want to leave now? Too late. Lu Ming sneered and took another step forward. 9 dragons in the sky. Bang! The heavens and earth shook violently. The severely injured disciples of the 6th-layer martial ancestor realm of the Serene Demon Palace let out cries of agony as their bodies could no longer withstand the force and exploded. Even the 2 peak 6th-layer martial ancestor realm geniuses felt as if their bodies had been hit by a 10,000-meter-tall mountain. Their bodies emitted cracking sounds as they spat out mouthfuls of blood. Both of them were peerless geniuses who had slightly surpassed the level of the Second World War geniuses. Their combat strength had barely reached the early stage of the 9th-layer martial ancestor realm, which was why they were still alive after receiving 2 kicks. Run, run, run! The 2 of them screamed in their hearts as they were terrified to the extreme. They turned into 2 rays of light and fled in all directions. Die! Lu Ming's eyes turned cold as he waved his hand forcefully. 2 spear glows were fired and instantly pierced through the air toward the 2. Slash! One of them had his heart penetrated by the spear glows, causing him to let out a furious roar as his body fell to the ground. As for the black-robed skeleton, his reaction was slightly faster, and he managed to avoid being hit in a vital spot. However, one of his arms was pierced by the spear glows and exploded. Bastard, the Serene Demon Palace will not let you off. Next time, I will tear you into pieces. A voice that was filled with hatred rang out from afar. In an instant, the black-robed skeleton disappeared. Trying to escape, Lu Ming's eyes flashed coldly as he took another step forward. Lu Ming's body disappeared in an instant. He left behind a dumbfounded crowd. Lu Ming executed the 9 dragons' sky-stomping steps. With 1 step, he covered a distance of 10 miles. When Lu Ming appeared 10 miles away, he frowned. The aura of the youth from the Serene Demon Palace had suddenly disappeared without a trace. Lu Ming scanned the area, but did not find any trace of him. It seems that the other party has cultivated some kind of skill or some kind of treasure that can conceal his aura and hide his tracks. Lu Ming searched for a while, but still could not find any trace of him. He could only give up and return to the city. More than a dozen corpses of the Serene Demon Palace's disciples were lying motionless in various places. Their storage rings were intact. The people in the city did not dare to touch them because these were Lu Ming's spoils of war. Lu Ming's figure flickered as he collected the storage rings of the Serene Demon Palace's disciples. At the same time, he devoured their blood essence. Lu, brother Lu. At this time, Song Yu and Song Jing flew over. Song Yu looked at Lu Ming with reverence. Brother Song, let's enter the city first. Lu Ming said. Then, the three of them flew into the city. After flying into the city, Lu Ming was a little surprised because he saw several youths flying out. Lu Ming grabbed a burly youth and asked, Brother, why are they flying out? Sigh. The burly youth sighed and said, Brother, although you're strong, you don't know that the Serene Demon Palace is an extremely powerful sect. The area where the Serene Demon Palace is located is called the Serene Demon Mountain Range. There are many high-level empires in that area, but the Serene Demon Palace is undoubtedly the overlord of that area. Even high-level empires have to listen to the Serene Demon Palace's orders. Almost all the geniuses in that area have joined the Serene Demon Palace and become their disciples. There is a portion of the Serene Demon Palace's disciples in this city. Those people just now are not the strongest among them. 7 of them went to another city early this morning to investigate, but they will return in 2 days at most. At that time, a great disaster will befall us. All of us will die. That's why they chose to leave this place, preferring to find another city to settle down. The burly youth was honest, explaining everything to Lu Ming in detail. So that's how it is. Lu Ming was enlightened. He then asked, what are the cultivation levels of the 7 people who left? Almost all of them are late-stage martial ancestor realm and above. 2 of them are early-stage martial ancestor realm 7-stage geniuses. They are in between the 2nd and 3rd stage of the martial ancestor realm and are extremely powerful. Brother, although you're strong, you're most likely not their match. You'd better leave this place quickly. The burly youth advised. Thank you for telling me. Lu Ming cupped his fists, but he had no intention of leaving. Chapter 382. Although it was dangerous outside at night, if they stayed here, they would definitely be killed when the people from the Netherworld Demon Palace returned. It was better to leave early. Brother Song, what do you guys plan to do? Lu Ming looked at Song Yu and Song Jing. If we leave the city at night, we will be in danger. I believe in Brother Lu. Song Yu said firmly, intending to stay here first. Song Jing nodded and followed Song Yu. All right, then you guys should rest first. Lu Ming smiled faintly. He casually found a room in the city and sat down cross-legged. Recently, his comprehension of the Heaven Path Palm had been getting deeper and deeper. He felt that he could break through at any time. Once the Heaven Path Palm broke through, he would have another trump card. In his mind, the aura that he remembered from the Gate of Heaven kept circulating. For some reason, as time passed, the aura became fainter and fainter. Lu Ming reckoned that it wouldn't be long before he forgot about that aura. Yes, he would forget about it. It would disappear from his memory. Therefore, he had to master the Heaven Path Palm within this period of time. Lu Ming closed his eyes and continued to comprehend. The aura of the Gate of Heaven and the Heaven Path Palm kept verifying each other. Lu Ming's comprehension of the Heaven Path Palm was getting deeper and deeper. He felt that there was only a layer of paper between them. As long as he could pierce through this layer, Lu Ming would be able to successfully master the Heaven Path Palm. Time passed, and slowly night fell. Heaven and earth fell into darkness again. Dark clouds covered the sky. Ga, ga, ga. Outside, strange cries were incessant. It was abnormally terrifying. Lu Ming ended his cultivation and walked out of the room. Looking into the distance, he could see many black shadows flickering outside the city. However, the city emitted a layer of hazy light. It was like a semicircle that enveloped the entire city. Those spirits seemed to be very afraid of this light. They wandered outside and didn't dare to charge in. This light was formed by the inscription Great Array. The peerless experts of the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace had inscribed great arrays on all the cities in the Dongming ancient battlefield so that the selection could be carried out smoothly. Lu Ming saw that other than Song Yu and Song Jing, there were a few other people in the city who hadn't left, including the burly young man who had returned. When he saw Lu Ming, he smiled brightly. After watching for a while, Lu Ming returned to his room and started comprehending the Heaven's Path Palm. Soon a day passed. On the second night, Lu Ming's eyes suddenly flashed. His comprehension of the heavenly Tao Palm finally had a major breakthrough. He felt that he had succeeded in comprehending it. I'll go out and test it during the day. Following which, Lu Ming continued to comprehend and deepen his understanding of the Heaven's Path Palm. Time passed. Soon, the curtain of night retreated, and light returned to the world. Lu Ming left the city and flew into the distance. Soon, he arrived at a large mountain range. Heaven's Law Palm. Suddenly, Lu Ming let out a loud roar and thrust his palm towards the sky. Wong! A formless wave spread out from Lu Ming's palm. Then, a huge palm print formed in the sky. This palm print was transparent, like a human's palm, but it had 9 fingers. The palm print was dozens of meters long and wide. It came down from the sky and hit 1,000-meter tall mountain peak. Boom! With an earth-shattering explosion, the 1,000-meter tall mountain directly exploded. All the trees and rocks were directly annihilated, turning into ashes and dissipating. It didn't explode into rubble, but was directly annihilated. In the blink of an eye, 1,000-meter tall mountain peak was gone. What a powerful force! Even Lu Ming himself was dumbfounded. According to the secret manual of the 3 Tao Palms, very few people had been able to master the 3rd palm, the Heaven's Law Palm. Once mastered, it would be infinitely close to a heaven-class martial skill. Moreover, it wasn't the 1st or 2nd level, but the strongest power. The power of the Heaven's Law Palm has completely surpassed the 1st step of the 9 dragons' heaven stomping steps. It has become my strongest killing move. Lu Ming laughed heartily. Unless Lu Ming mastered the 2nd step of the 9 dragons' heaven stomping steps, he would probably be able to surpass the power of the Heaven's Law Palm. Boom! Then Lu Ming started to cultivate again. Every palm strike was extremely powerful. With each strike, 100-meter deep pit appeared on the ground. When it hit the mountain peak exploded and was annihilated. Lu Ming struck out more than a dozen palms before he stopped. Because the Heaven's Law Palm consumed too much energy, Lu Ming could only strike out more than a dozen palms with his current cultivation before his genuine qi ran out. Lu Ming took out a pile of spiritual crystals and absorbed the energy in them to recover his genuine qi. 2 hours later, Lu Ming's genuine qi had completely recovered. Let's go back to the city and figure it out. Lu Ming smiled. His figure flashed, and he flew back to the city. When he was still some distance away from the city, a shrill scream came from the city. Lu Ming's expression changed, and he quickly flew back to the city. At this moment, 8 figures appeared in the city. Each of them was wearing a black skeleton robe. One of them was pale and had a broken arm. It was the person who had escaped from Lu Ming 2 days ago. They were all experts from the Serene Devil Palace. Song Yu, Song Jing, the burly youth, and the other 5 people who had stayed in the city were all captured by the Serene Devil Palace. One of them had an arm chopped off by a youth from the Serene Devil Palace. He was the one who had screamed earlier. "Tell me, where did that little bastard go?" The youth who had escaped 2 days ago stared at Song Yu and the others coldly like a malicious spirit. "I really don't know. He was still here in the morning, and then he left. I beg you, let me go." The youth who had his arm chopped off screamed in agony. "Let you go? You were there in the battle 2 days ago. Since you were there, why didn't you help us kill that bastard? You saw it. Not helping is a crime punishable by death. Die." The Serene Devil Palace disciple who had escaped had a cold expression on his face. With a swing of his sword, the youth's head flew high into the air. Song Yu, Song Jing, and the others were as pale as paper. "The 2 of you are in cahoots with that bastard. Don't worry, the 2 of you won't die so easily. I'll let the 2 of you taste the greatest pain in the world before letting you die." The Serene Devil Palace disciple said coldly. The other 7 disciples of the Serene Devil Palace looked on coldly from the side. Their gazes were extremely cold. Both Song Yu and Song Jing were trembling in fear. "Haha, are you afraid? If you're afraid, quickly think of a way to call that little bastard back." The Serene Devil Palace disciple laughed maniacally. "No need to call. I'm here." Suddenly, a cold voice came from the sky. Everyone quickly looked up. In the sky, Lu Ming stood there and looked down. His expression was very cold, and his eyes were extremely cold. He didn't expect that the Serene Devil Palace's people would arrive so soon after he went out to cultivate. "Little bastard, you're finally back." Chapter 383. "Brother Lu, you leave now." When Song Yu saw Lu Ming, he was overjoyed at first, but then he thought of something and shouted again. The Serene Demon Hall was too powerful. Apart from the young man who had run away, the other 7 people were at least at the late stage of the martial ancestor realm. Among them, 2 were at the late stage of the martial ancestor realm, 3 were at the peak of the martial ancestor realm, and 2 were at the early stage of the martial ancestor realm. Their combined power was too powerful. No matter how powerful Lu Ming was, he was no match for them. Although Song Yu hoped that a miracle would happen and that Lu Ming could save them, his rationality told him that it was impossible. "Leave? Today, none of you shall leave." The one who spoke was a green-haired young man. He was about 24 or 25 years old and had a slender figure. His aura was intimidating, and his long green hair reached his waist. His eyes were cold and emotionless as he looked at Lu Ming and said, "You killed my men? Good, very good. You will pay a heavy price for this." "I'm afraid you don't have the ability." Lu Ming smiled faintly. "Then I'll show you." Boom. As soon as he finished speaking, a violent aura exploded from the green-haired young man's body. Triple kill of the Serene Demon, spirit severing. The green-haired young man shouted, and a sword chime sounded. A dark green sword chi shot out from the green-haired young man's hand. In an instant, it crossed thousands of meters and slashed at Lu Ming's glabella. Complete metal force. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. Swoosh! The demon-suppressing spear appeared and stabbed forward. The wind and fire force exploded. Boom! The spear radiance and the sword chi collided, and there was a dazzling light at the point of contact. Then, the spear radiance and the sword chi dissipated together. They were evenly matched. This person is not weaker than Prince Tianxi. Lu Ming's eyes flashed, and he could roughly determine the other party's combat strength. Without a doubt, the other party was a genius between a Second World War genius and a Third World War genius. He was at the early stage of the martial ancestor realm and should be able to unleash the combat strength of a late stage of the martial ancestor realm. Kid, you are quite capable. Take another move. Triple kill of the serene demon. God slaying. The green-haired youth roared. A dark green light burst out from his body. It was extremely dazzling. Then, he became one with his sword and turned into an incomparably dazzling dark green sword light, rushing towards Lu Ming. In the blink of an eye, he had covered a distance of several thousand meters. The sky was slashed by the sword light, and the airwaves rolled and split into two. It was as if the sky had been split open. It was extremely shocking. The power of the slash was significantly stronger than the previous one, which had achieved the strength of the late-stage, ninth-layer martial ancestor realm. 9 dragons stomping the heavens. Lu Ming took a step forward. Heaven and earth rumbled as a terrifying power surged forward. Boom! Once again, a terrifying roar resounded in the sky. Shockwaves swept across, and sand and pebbles flew everywhere. Bang! 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 A figure flew back and took 3 consecutive steps in the air, causing the air to explode and emit a violent rumble. It was the green-haired youth. On the other side, Lu Ming's body swayed slightly. He took a step back and steadied himself. It was obvious that Lu Ming was stronger than him. The green-robed youth's face instantly turned greener than his hair. His eyes were filled with disbelief as he uttered a roar. How is this possible? A mere early-stage, 5th-layer martial ancestor realm cultivator is able to resist my killing blow. How is this possible? He could not accept it. If a mere early-stage, 5th-layer martial ancestor realm cultivator was able to fight against him, wouldn't that mean that Lu Ming had surpassed the strength of a 4th-layer genius, and was between a 4th-layer genius and a 5th-layer genius? That was too shocking. Not to mention being between a 4th-layer genius and a 5th-layer genius. There was not even a 4th-layer genius in the Serene Demon Palace. Who was this kid? Where did he come from? Junior brother, let's attack together and kill this guy. Since we're already enemies, the more talented he is, the more we should kill him. With a flicker, a bulky youth appeared beside the green-haired youth. The youth was the other 7th-layer martial ancestor, realm genius. Great, let's attack together. Set up the Serene Demon 7 slaughter formation and kill this guy. The green-haired youth gave the order. Shush, shush. With a flicker, the other Serene Demon Palace disciples in the city below appeared behind the green-haired youth and the bulky youth. There were 7 of them in total, and they stood in a strange formation. As for the fleeing Serene Demon Palace disciple, he stood aside with a cold smile and stared at Lu Ming with murderous intent. Is it a joint attack formation? Lu Ming's lips curled into a cold smile. As for Song Yu, Song Jing, and the rest, they looked at the sky anxiously. Now, they could only wait and hope for a miracle. Kill! Kill! Suddenly, 7 voices that were filled with murderous intent rang out. Then, the 7 Serene Demon Palace disciples moved. The 7 of them flashed in a strange trajectory and turned into countless light shadows, surrounding Lu Ming in the middle. Chi-Chi. Suddenly, 7 rays of sword chi shot toward Lu Ming from 7 different directions. Lu Ming's body flashed, and he avoided 6 rays of sword chi. However, there was 1 ray that he could not avoid. Shush! The long spear lashed out, containing the power of wind and fire. Boom! Lu Ming's body trembled, and he could not help but retreat. The power of this sword was even stronger than the green-haired youth's second attack. Lu Ming did not use the 9 dragons' heaven-ascending steps, and was instantly at a disadvantage. Shush! Shush! While Lu Ming was retreating, a few more sword auras slashed toward Lu Ming's back violently. Every step was filled with murderous intent, and there was no way to avoid it. 9 dragons' heaven-ascending steps. Lu Ming roared, and a dragon's roar rang out. Shush! Lu Ming's body turned into a ray of light and disappeared in a flash. Not only did he avoid the rays of sword chi behind him, but he also left the serene demon palace's formation and appeared in the sky not far away. How is this possible? What kind of movement technique is that? The serene demon palace disciples widened their eyes in shock and disbelief. Their formation was a famous formation of the serene demon palace. When the 7 of them worked together, their combat strength increased exponentially. Furthermore, those who were trapped would not be able to escape and could only be killed. With the strength of the 7 of them, even a peak martial ancestor, realm 9 martial artist would be killed if they worked together. Only a half-step king could escape. However, Lu Ming was only at the early martial ancestor realm 5. How was this possible? This formation is indeed amazing. All right, I've seen it. I won't play with you anymore. Lu Ming said indifferently. This caused the crowd to be stunned. Lu Ming had purposely allowed himself to be surrounded by the formation. He wanted to see the power of the formation. Big brother, aren't you being too childish? Song Yu and the others wanted to scream. However, the serene demon palace disciples' faces were extremely gloomy. You won't play with us? What big words! Let me tell you, even if you leave today, your friends will end up in an incomparably miserable state. Because of you, the green-haired youth glanced at Song Yu and the others below and said with a ferocious expression, with Lu Ming's movement technique, they would not be able to stop him if he wanted to leave. However, Song Yu and the others could not leave. Brother Lu, don't worry about us. Leave quickly. Song Yu shouted again. Chapter 384. Not leaving? What did he mean by not leaving and not playing with them? The people from the Serene Devil Hall were stunned. What I meant was to get rid of you quickly. I won't play with you anymore. Lu Ming said with a faint smile. What? Get rid of us? The people from the Serene Devil Hall were stunned at first, then they laughed maniacally. Ha ha! Aren't you afraid of biting your tongue? Get rid of us. Do you think you can? This kid is spouting nonsense to disturb our mental states. Don't talk anymore. Let's go all out and kill him. As soon as he said that, the 7 disciples from the Serene Devil Hall shone with silver light. Those were chakras, the chakras of king-class bloodlines. Among the 7 of them, 2 had level 2 king-class bloodlines, 3 had level 3 king-class bloodlines, and the strongest 2 had level 4 king-class bloodlines. As their chakras shone and their bloodlines erupted, the auras of the 7 disciples were raised to their peak. Kill. The 7 disciples from the Serene Devil Hall formed a large formation. Sword chi shone as they charged toward Lu Ming. Bloodline? I have it too. Lu Ming smiled faintly and activated his second bloodline, a tall and hazy stone tablet with 4 silver chakras flashed and disappeared. Level 4 king-class bloodline. Although it's strong, what's the use? The green-haired youth roared. Sword chi burst forth and shrouded Lu Ming. What if I add this? Lu Ming sneered. Roar. A dragon's roar was heard. The 9 dragons' bloodline rushed out and roared at the sky. The people from the Serene Devil Hall, as well as Song Yu and the rest, widened their eyes as if they had seen a ghost. King-class bloodline? Why does he have 2 types of king-class bloodlines? Is he a natural king-class bloodline? Natural king-class bloodline? Impossible. The people from the Serene Devil Hall shouted in disbelief. Even the operation of the formation came to a halt. Nothing is impossible. Devour. Lu Ming yelled. Roar. The 9 dragons' bloodline roared and opened its mouth. A terrifying devouring power came out of its mouth and shrouded the 7 people from the serene Devil Hall. What's going on? I feel that my bloodline power is unstable. My blood essence is pulsating. Everyone from the serene Devil Palace screamed in horror. A martial arts grandmaster could unleash both bloodlines at the same time. However, for most martial artists, their first bloodline was only of the ordinary class, above the martial ancestor realm. When they unleashed their ordinary class bloodline, the enhancement effect was extremely limited and negligible. Therefore, most people would only use their second bloodline. Very few people would use both bloodlines at the same time. But Lu Ming was different. Both of his bloodlines were at the king level, and they had different effects on him. He could use them as much as he wanted. Petty tricks. Keep calm and go kill him. The green-haired youth roared. Really? Let's continue then. Heaven's palm. Lu Ming sneered, and suddenly struck out with his palm. Huff, huff. The spiritual chi of the world seemed to have been sucked dry as a huge transparent palm print appeared. With a violent attack, it pressed down on the 7 people from the Netherworld Demon Palace like Mount Tai. The terrifying pressure caused heaven and earth to tremble violently. The sword chi that the Serene Devil Palace's group had unleashed collapsed in an instant. Ah, what kind of martial skill was this? How can it be so terrifying? The Yumo Palace disciple screamed in horror. This was simply unbelievable. Hold on together. The green-robed youth's eyes were red as he screamed with all his might. The 7 Yumo Palace disciples used all their strength and activated the joint attack formation to the maximum. The 7 of them worked together and slashed out a shocking sword chi that slashed at the heaven's palm print. Boom! The sword chi slashed at the center of the heaven's palm print, causing an earth-shattering boom. Terrifying shockwaves swept out and swept away all the clouds in the sky within a radius of dozens of miles. Even the city below shook violently. Song Yu and the others were blown against the wall by the strong wind before they could stabilize themselves. But they could not care less about their sorry state. They widened their eyes and stared at the sky. Which side would win? Bam! All of a sudden, the sword light trembled and exploded, turning into specks of light that dissipated into the air. Boom! Although a portion of the Heaven's Palm Print's power had been neutralized, the remaining power was still terrifying and continued to press down. Bam! Bam! The 7 Yumo Palace disciples were like toads. They could not move at all as they were blasted into the mud. The 2 with the weakest cultivation let out blood-curdling screams before they stopped breathing. As for the 3 geniuses at the peak of the 6th martial ancestor realm, although they were not dead, they were half dead. Only the 2 7th martial ancestor realm cultivators spat out a mouthful of blood, but still maintained a certain level of combat strength. Let's go! The green-robed youth roared and was about to use a secret technique to escape. But Lu Ming's second palm strike followed. Boom! Another huge palm print was formed and pressed down on the Yumo Palace disciples. No! The green-haired youth and the others screamed in despair. The Heaven's Palm Print was extremely mysterious. It completely locked onto them, and there was no way for them to escape. Boom! Even though the remaining 2 tried their best, they could not withstand it. Boom, boom, boom. Smoke and dust filled the air as the 2 of them were blasted into the ground, creating 2 huge craters. They lay in the craters, unable to move at all. At that moment, Song Yu, Song Jing, and the others were dumbfounded. They could not recover from their shock. The 7 geniuses of the Yumo Palace had joined forces to set up a formation, but it had been defeated by Lu Ming with 2 palms. That was too terrifying. On the other side of the sky, the Yumo Palace disciple who had escaped last time was trembling all over. His lips were quivering and his face was drained of blood. His eyes were filled with fear. Demon, monster, this is all my fault. Run, run. I have to get away from this monster. Run. He screamed in his heart and was about to use a secret technique to escape. Right at that moment, Pucci, a spear light pierced through his heart from the back. The Yumo Palace disciple roared in anger and turned his head desperately, only to see Lu Ming's cold eyes. I let you escape last time. Do you think there will be a second time? A faint voice sounded from Lu Ming's mouth. Then, the long spear shook, and the spear light destroyed the Yumo Palace disciple's vitality. His corpse fell to the ground. Then, Lu Ming took another step forward and walked toward the green-haired youth and the others. At that moment, the green-haired youth and the green-haired youth were unable to move. Wait a minute, don't kill us. We are disciples of the Yumo Palace. There are many geniuses in my Yumo Palace. There are more than 500 geniuses who came in this time. We are just a part of them. There are many stronger geniuses in other cities. If you kill us, the Yumo Palace disciples won't let you go. The green-haired youth shouted, Hee, as long as I kill you, how will the other Yumo Palace disciples know that I killed you? Lu Ming sneered, Of course I know. I don't mind telling you that I have already copied your figure with the shadow-breathing talisman and sent it to the strongest genius in my Yumo Palace. You won't be able to escape. The green-haired youth shouted, So, it's the shadow-breathing talisman? Lu Ming's heart stirred. The shadow-breathing talisman was the same as the 10,000 miles sound-transmitting talisman. Both were refined by inscription masters. Chapter 385. Seeing that Lu Ming was silent, the green-haired youth thought that Lu Ming was afraid and was overjoyed. How about this? As long as you let us go, I'll plead with the experts of the Serene Demon Hall to spare your life. We'll pretend that nothing happened today. The green-haired youth said. Since Lu Ming was afraid, he believed that Lu Ming would accept this condition. A vicious, murderous intent flashed in the depths of his eyes. He was roaring in his heart. As long as he could get out of danger this time, he would definitely let more powerful cultivators from the Serene Demon Palace pursue Lu Ming with all their might. He would let Lu Ming die without a burial ground and make Lu Ming regret offending him. Are you done? Lu Ming suddenly smiled faintly and said, What? The green-haired youth was stunned. If you're done, you can be on your way. A cold, killing intent burst forth from Lu Ming's body. No, don't. The green-haired youth and the other 7th-level martial ancestor, realm genius, screamed in horror. They had thought that they had seen hope and that Lu Ming would let them go. However, in the next moment, they had fallen from heaven to hell. Swoosh, swoosh. Lu Ming did not bother to talk nonsense with them. Spear radiance shot out and killed the 2 of them. Then he killed the other severely injured people one by one, took their storage rings, and devoured their blood essence. Brother Lu, we have to thank you for saving us this time. Songyu flew over and stammered. Lu Ming was becoming more and more mysterious in his heart. He was becoming more and more unreachable. There's no need to thank me. I've implicated you this time. Brother Song, what do you plan to do next? This city has been exposed. I'm afraid that the experts of the Serene Demon Hall will come. Lu Ming said, We've received news that there's a small city in the north. There are experts in our area, and we plan to meet them there. Songyu said. Lu Ming nodded. This was good too. He was not a charitable person and could not spend time helping them. They had to rely on themselves. Immediately, the Song siblings, as well as the sturdy young man, bid farewell to Lu Ming and left for the north. Lu Ming walked into a room and sat down cross-legged to refine the blood essence he had just devoured. They were the blood essences of martial artists in the 6th and 7th level of the martial ancestor realm. They were not of much help to Lu Ming. After refining them, Lu Ming's cultivation was still at the peak of the 5th level of the martial ancestor realm. Now that I've successfully mastered the Heaven's Path Palm, my battle prowess has increased greatly. Although I haven't reached the level of a 5-battle genius, I've reached the peak of a 4-battle genius. Lu Ming concluded his combat strength. If Lu Ming unleashed his full strength and unleashed all of his bloodline, the Heaven's Path Palm combined with the power of wind and fire would allow Lu Ming's battle prowess to reach the peak of Battle 4. Earlier, he had used this move to defeat the Serene Devil Halls group in one fell swoop. However, the peak of the 4 battles genius was only a step away from the 5 battles genius. However, this step was like the difference between heaven and earth. It was extremely difficult to reach the 5 battles genius level. Even if Lu Ming mastered the 2nd step of the 9 dragons sky stomping steps, he would not be able to reach the 5 battles genius level. If I want to increase my battle prowess quickly, I can only increase my cultivation level quickly. Lu Ming pondered. The power of the Heaven's Path Palm was already extremely terrifying. Even if he mastered the 2nd step of the 9 dragons sky stomping steps, his power would not be much stronger than the Heaven's Path Palm. Unless he mastered the 3rd step, his battle prowess would increase greatly. However, he had not even mastered the 2nd step, let alone the 3rd step. In terms of power, the power of wind and fire were both at the peak of the great accomplishment realm. The power of the 2 powers when combined was extremely terrifying. Even if Lu Ming broke through to the great accomplishment realm in one of the powers, the power of the 2 powers would not increase by much, unless both powers reached the great accomplishment realm. However, this was not something that could be comprehended in a short period of time. Therefore, if Lu Ming wanted to increase his battle prowess in a short period of time, he could only increase his cultivation level. Among the geniuses in this selection, his shortcoming was his cultivation level. I need to find a place with powerful demonic beasts and hunt them to increase my cultivation level. Lu Ming made up his mind and left the small town, heading west. He headed west, looking for a place with powerful demonic beasts. Slowly, night fell. Night came again. However, with Lu Ming's power of wind and fire, as long as he did not encounter anything too strange, he would not be in danger. Those spirits could not do anything to him. He rushed forward until the day came again, and the world regained its vitality. During the day, Lu Ming sped up. Soon, he had covered hundreds of thousands of miles. Finally, Lu Ming stopped in the middle of a vast mountain. This mountain was full of vitality. In the depths of the mountain, there were loud roars, accompanied by waves of powerful aura that soared to the sky. Lu Ming sensed more than 10 Class 8 LV4 demonic beasts aura. There were even Class 9 LV4 demonic beasts aura. Great, this is the place. Lu Ming was overjoyed. This boundless mountain seemed to have nurtured many powerful demonic beasts. Lu Ming rushed into the mountain without hesitation. Hiss! Not long after, a python that was more than 50 meters long pounced toward Lu Ming. The python emitted a Class 8 LV4 demonic beast's aura. Good timing! Lu Ming grinned and thrust his long spear. With a puff, it pierced a big hole in the python's head. The python hissed, and its huge body rolled, crushing several large trees that would take several people to wrap their arms around them. After rolling a few times, it stopped breathing. Lu Ming stepped forward and devoured the blood essence of the python. At the same time, he took out the demon core and devoured it as well. The blood essence and monster core of a Class 8 LV4 demonic beast were much more effective. After a while, Lu Ming's body shook slightly, and he finally broke through to the middle stage of Martial Grandmaster Realm. Then he continued to hunt demonic beasts. Half a day later, Lu Ming had killed 8 Class 8 LV4 demonic beasts and a Class 9 LV4 demonic beast. His cultivation had reached the peak of the middle stage of Martial Grandmaster Realm and was not far from the late stage of Martial Grandmaster Realm. At this time, night fell again, and all the demonic beasts went into hiding. Lu Ming followed a demonic beast and hid in a cave more than 10 meters underground. But before long, the spirit still found him. Lu Ming came to a conclusion. It was useless for outsiders like them to hide. The ghost would still find them. On the other hand, the ghost would not find the demonic beasts if they hid. Lu Ming was speechless. He could only resist and wait for time to pass. When the day came, Lu Ming meditated for a while. After he recovered, he continued to hunt demonic beasts. Croak! Half an hour later, Lu Ming sprinted out of a valley and frantically fled into the distance. A loud cry came from the valley, shaking the heavens and the earth, causing countless trees to tremble. Following this, a 50-meter-tall toad that looked like a small mountain rushed out of the valley. Whoosh! The giant toad opened its mouth, and a scarlet tongue pierced through the air toward Lu Ming. Chapter 386. Boom! The giant toad's scarlet tongue didn't hit Lu Ming. Instead, it hit a 1,000-meter-tall mountain peak. The giant toad was enraged. It flicked its scarlet tongue, and the 1,000-meter-tall mountain peak exploded in half. That part of the mountain peak whizzed toward Lu Ming. Nest, this toad is too strong. It's definitely a half-step king. Lu Ming was shocked. He used the 9 dragons' heaven-stomping steps and instantly moved 10 miles away. Rumble! Behind him, that part of the mountain peak hit the ground and let out a deafening rumble. Who knew how many creatures were slaughtered by this attack? Lu Ming didn't stop. He took a few more steps and finally got rid of the giant toad. This time, he was really unlucky. He had just casually barged into a valley, and he had already alarmed such a powerful existence. Seems like I still have to be careful. Who knows what kind of existences reside in this ancient battlefield? If I meet a real beast king, I won't even know how I died. Lu Ming thought. He then focused and carefully observed while continuing to hunt beasts. Rich medicinal fragrance. Lu Ming hadn't walked more than 100 miles when a rich medicinal fragrance suddenly assaulted his nose. To the left, Lu Ming identified and found that the medicinal fragrance came from the left. Immediately, Lu Ming went to the left. There were 2 mountains in front of him. They were 7,000 to 8,000 meters tall and pierced through the clouds. They were exceptionally majestic. In the middle of the 2 mountain peaks, there was a huge canyon. The medicinal fragrance was coming from there. Lu Ming suddenly stopped. In the forest, a few corpses of beasts were lying on the ground. There were sword wounds on their bodies. From the looks of it, they hadn't been dead for long. There are already people here. Lu Ming's heart stirred. Lu Ming immediately focused and continued forward. Along the way, he saw many more corpses. Swish! Swish! Suddenly, the sound of something breaking through the air could be heard. 8 young men and women appeared in front of Lu Ming. Halt! This place has already been occupied by my soaring Tiger Mountain range. Friend, please return. The 8 young men and women sized up Lu Ming. One of them, a blue-robed young man, said, "The Flying Tiger Mountain Range." Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. The Flying Tiger Mountain Range was a small area south of the Cloud Emperor Mountain Range. Although it was bigger than the Cloud Emperor Mountain Range, it wasn't much bigger. Lu Ming's lips curled into a cold smile as he said, "Occupied by you? I've never heard of any place in the Dongming ancient battlefield that is privately owned. If you can come, then so can I." It was obvious that there were treasures in the canyon. The people of the soaring Tiger Mountain range wanted to occupy this place, clear out the demonic beasts here, and take the treasures for themselves. It was not easy for Lu Ming to meet him. How could he miss this opportunity? Brat, don't refuse a toast, only to be forced to drink a forfeit. A mere martial ancestor, realm level 5 cultivation dares to bargain with us. Since you don't want to leave, stay here forever. The blue-robed young man's face darkened, and he emitted a murderous aura. I'm afraid you don't have that ability. Lu Ming let out a calm smile, boasting shamelessly. A mere 5th-layer martial ancestor, realm cultivator dares to be so smug. Die. Beside the blue-robed young man, a cold young man with a cultivation of the early stage 6th-layer martial ancestor, realm stepped forward and lashed out at Lu Ming. Roar. A ferocious tiger appeared and lunged at Lu Ming. This young man was a genius. With his cultivation of the early stage 6th-layer martial ancestor realm, he believed that he could easily suppress Lu Ming. However, his face turned pale in the next instant. Lu Ming gave a casual slap, and the ferocious tiger that he condensed was easily dispersed. Following this, Lu Ming continued to slap him. Pa! The crisp sound of a slap rang out, and the cold-looking youth let out a miserable cry. His body was like a cannonball as he was sent flying. He crashed through 2 large trees before coming to a stop. He lay there twitching nonstop, having already fainted. The others inhaled deeply and stared at Lu Ming in astonishment. Let's attack together. The blue-robed young man let out a roar as he collected his thoughts. Following this, silver chakras appeared as their bloodlines were unleashed, resulting in 7 powerful auras. Among them, the blue-robed young man's cultivation had reached the peak of the 6th-layer martial ancestor realm. Humph! Lu Ming harumphed as his eyes glistened. A long spear appeared in his hand as he lashed out. Bang! Bang! Following 6 explosions, apart from the blue-robed young man, the other 6 were sent flying and landed heavily on the ground. Meanwhile, the blue-robed young man was knocked 100 meters backward while coughing out mouthfuls of blood. Lu Ming frowned as he was not satisfied with his attack. The so-called genius of the Battle 3 or Battle 4 did not mean that he could achieve that with a casual attack. It meant that he had to unleash his full strength to execute his ultimate move. Lu Ming's Heaven's Path Palm was able to reach the peak of the Battle 4 level. However, his 9 Dragons Heaven Stomping Steps was only slightly better than the Battle 4 level. If he only executed the power of wind and fire without the 9 Dragons Heaven Stomping Steps or the Heaven's Path Palm, he would only be able to reach the Battle 4 level. While he was not satisfied with his attack, the blue-robed young man and the others were terrified. Whoosh! Whoosh! At this moment, the sound of something flying could be heard. Dozens of figures flew out from the direction of the canyon. It was obvious that they were all geniuses from the flying Tiger Mountain range. They had been alerted earlier. How dare you go against so many people from the flying Tiger Mountain range alone? Are you courting death? Dozens of people stood in front of Lu Ming as a burly young man shouted coldly, "This place does not belong to the flying Tiger Mountain range. I can come and go as I please. You are the ones who are too overbearing." Lu Ming said calmly, "Kid, which region are you from?" The one who spoke was a young man standing in the middle of the dozens of people. This young man had a strong back and a strong waist. His arms were extremely long and could reach his knees. It was obvious that he was the leader of the group. Lu Ming looked at this person and frowned. This person gave him a dangerous feeling. Cloud Emperor Mountain Range. Lu Ming said, "There was nothing to hide. Cloud Emperor Mountain Range." After hearing Lu Ming's words, the dozens of people from the flying Tiger Mountain Range relaxed. The long-armed young man in the lead had a cold smile on his face. So you are from the Cloud Emperor mountain range. Ha ha, since you dare to injure so many of us, you shall stay here forever. The long-armed young man sneered. He had said so much just now because he was afraid that Lu Ming was a genius from a large region. If that was the case, he would have to think twice. Now, there was no need for that. Brother Fei, you are the top expert in the Flying Tiger Mountain Range. There is no need for you to kill a chicken with a butcher's knife. I will kill him. The burly young man from before strode out. With every step he took, the ground rumbled and cracked. A giant black bear appeared above his head, and 4 silver chakras shone brightly, the early stage of the martial ancestor realm. There was no doubt that this person was a genius who was not weaker than Prince Tianxi. Die! A saber appeared in the burly young man's hand, and he slashed at Lu Ming. Chapter 387. 9 Dragons Stomping the Sky. Lu Ming did not want to waste time with him, and he immediately executed the 9 dragons stomping the sky steps. Boom! There was a loud explosion, and the burly young man's body slid back 1,000 meters. Along the way, there was a deep gully. His body shook, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. Sizzle, the sound of people sucking in cold air could be heard. The geniuses of Flying Tiger Mountain Range looked at Lu Ming in shock. It was unbelievable that he could injure the burly young man with just one move when he was only a martial ancestor realm level 5 martial ancestor. The long-armed young man was shocked at first. Then, a cold-killing intent flashed in his eyes. I never thought that Cloud Emperor Mountain Range would have such a demonic genius like you. I'm afraid Jian Fengyan is no match for you. All right, I'll kill you before you rise. Otherwise, you'll be a threat to Flying Tiger Mountain Range in the future. The long-armed young man said coldly, bam. As soon as he finished speaking, he threw himself at Lu Ming like a cannonball and threw out a punch. The punch was terrifying, and it was much more powerful than the burly young man's. 9 dragons stomping the sky. Lu Ming executed the 9 dragons stomping the sky steps and took a step forward. Boom! There was a loud explosion, and Lu Ming's 9 dragons stomping the sky steps was blocked. At the same time, a powerful force surged, and Lu Ming was pushed back. Advanced martial ancestor, realm level 7 cultivation. What a powerful force! Lu Ming's heart trembled. Roar! There was a loud roar, and a majestic giant ape appeared above the long-armed young man's head. There were 5 silver chakras on the giant ape's body. Level 5 king-class bloodline, steel raging ape, ape king divine fist. The long-armed young man roared and threw out another punch. The fist radiance was like a giant ape's fist, and it flew toward Lu Ming. Lu Ming's face turned grave. This person was definitely a triple battle genius, and he was no weaker than Jian Fengyan. Heaven Palm. Lu Ming executed his most powerful move without hesitation. The Heaven Palm print formed and collided with the Ape King Divine Fist. An earth-shattering boom rang out, and everything within a radius of tens of miles shook violently. The fist and palm collided, forming a terrifying hurricane that swept across the sky and earth. Some of the weaker youths in the soaring Tiger Mountain Range were swept away by the hurricane and were forced to retreat. Boom! After the loud noise, a figure flew backward rapidly. It was Lu Ming. He flew several thousand meters away and stood in the air with a trace of blood at the corner of his mouth. The long-armed young man was too powerful. His cultivation had reached the late 7th level of the martial arts Grandmaster realm, which was more than 2 levels higher than Lu Ming's. In addition, he was a 3-fight genius, so he was more than 5 levels higher than Lu Ming. Lu Ming had not reached the level of a 5-battle genius, so how could he be a match for him? He's still not dead. Little did he know that the long-armed young man's heart was in turmoil. Lu Ming's battle prowess shocked him until his hair stood on end. He had also been to those big areas before. However, even in a large region, there was no such terrifying genius. Not to mention anything else, he had only heard of the 4th battle genius, but had never seen one. It was obvious that Lu Ming had surpassed the 4th battle genius. Die, he must die. The long-armed young man roared in his heart and yelled, "I've already injured him. Let's attack together. We can't let him leave alive." Having said that, he hurriedly attacked Lu Ming. Kill! The other cultivators of the soaring Tiger Mountain range yelled as they attacked at the same time, resulting in a shocking scene. These young men were the strongest cultivators of the soaring Tiger Mountain range. It was as if all the geniuses on the monarch ranking were attacking at the same time. How terrifying was the scene! "I'm too lazy to play with you." Lu Ming turned around and left with the 9 dragons' heaven-stomping steps. In the next instant, he was 10 miles away. What a joke! Lu Ming was not stupid to fight with so many people, including a long-armed young man. Since he was no match for them, why not retreat for the time being? Besides, Lu Ming already had a plan in mind. "Chase!" the long-armed young man yelled, but their speed was no match for Lu Ming's. In a few moments, Lu Ming was nowhere to be seen. "Damn it!" the long-armed young man cursed. "Let's go back. We must get the level 5 spiritual herbs in the valley." The long-armed young man yelled. Then, the group of cultivators of the soaring Tiger Mountain range returned to the valley to clear out the beasts inside. Lu Ming covered 10 miles in one step. He was very fast. Soon, he arrived outside a valley. There was a giant toad that was half a step away from the Beast King realm in the valley. That's right. Lu Ming came here to borrow the toad's strength. He wanted to use the toad's strength to disrupt the battle and seize the opportunity to snatch the spiritual herbs in the valley. Based on the medicinal fragrance that the spirit medicine gave off, Lu Ming speculated that it was very likely a level 5 spirit medicine. A level 4 spiritual herb definitely did not have such a fragrance. A level 5 spiritual herb. Lu Ming was excited at the thought of it. A level 5 spiritual herb was a rare treasure that even a Beast King would want. If he had a level 5 spiritual herb, Lu Ming could cultivate the myriad spirit battle body and push his physical body to level 6. After pondering for a while, Lu Ming rushed into the valley. Croak! After a while, an earth-shattering cry was heard, and the grass and trees shook. Then Lu Ming rushed out of the valley, as if his butt was on fire. Croak! A giant toad the size of a mountain rushed out of the valley and chased after Lu Ming. Lu Ming used the 9 dragons' heaven-stomping steps and appeared 10 miles away in an instant. Croak! The giant toad exerted its strength with its 4 limbs, and its enormous body rushed into the sky. It crossed 7 to 8 miles in an instant and landed heavily on the ground. Boom! Smoke and dust filled the air, and the ground cracked. Then the giant toad rushed out of the smoke and dust again and pounced on Lu Ming. Lu Ming took another step forward, causing the giant toad to pounce on nothing. A man and a toad, one chasing and one escaping, were dozens of miles away in the blink of an eye. When the giant toad stopped and did not want to give chase, Lu Ming stopped as well and shot it. The giant toad was furious and continued to chase after Lu Ming. Soon, Lu Ming came to the giant valley again. Lu Ming did not stop at all. He dashed toward the canyon directly. "Who is it?" With a loud shout, a few figures rushed out from below. One of them was the burly young man who was injured by Lu Ming. "You again? You dare to come again?" You're courting death." The burly young man roared when he saw Lu Ming. Whoosh, whoosh. A dozen figures rushed out from below. "Boy, I won't let you go this time." The long-armed young man also rushed out. "I brought you a gift. Don't thank me." Lu Ming smiled. "What?" The long-armed young man and the others were stunned. Croak! A loud roar came from afar. Then they saw a mountain-like figure rushing over from afar. "That's... oh no, retreat." The long-armed young man's expression changed drastically, and he quickly retreated. Lu Ming smiled and dashed into the house. However, a few people in the flying Tiger Mountain range did not react in time, and were directly crushed by the giant toad. Boom. Chapter 388. Whoosh. Then, the giant toad's crimson tongue shot out. 5 or 6 geniuses from the flying Tiger Mountain range were caught by the tongue. "Help me!" 5 or 6 young men screamed in horror. The next moment, the giant toad's tongue retracted back into its mouth and stopped screaming. Lu Ming took the opportunity to rush into the canyon. "Damn it, beast! Don't even think about it." The long-armed young man roared and rushed into the canyon. The rest of the people fled in all directions. Some ran out of the canyon, and some ran into the canyon. Croak! The giant toad cried and rushed into the canyon. Along the way, Lu Ming saw many corpses of demonic beasts. Wherever there were spiritual herbs, there would be powerful demonic beasts guarding it. The canyon was very wide and deep. It was formed by 2 huge mountains. The deeper he went, the stronger the fragrance of the herbs. Roar, roar. Suddenly, a dozen demonic beasts rushed out of the canyon. These demonic beasts were very powerful. The weakest of them was Class 8 LV4. 7 or 8 of them were Class 9 LV4. 2 of them were even at the peak of Class 9 LV4. They were only 1 step away from becoming a half-step monster king. These were the most powerful demonic beasts in the canyon. The long-armed young man and the others were afraid of these demonic beasts and did not rush in. Whoosh! Lu Ming took a step forward. His figure suddenly soared into the sky and appeared high in the sky. Then he took another step forward. This time, his target was the deeper part of the canyon. Roar! Some demonic beasts roared and tried to stop Lu Ming, but he was too fast. They could not stop him in time. At this moment, the giant toad rushed in again. Croak! The giant toad roared and attacked both humans and demonic beasts. Suddenly, the giant toad and the dozen powerful demonic beasts were engaged in a chaotic battle. "Damn it! Damn it!" The long-armed young man roared. The people from the flying Tiger Mountain range were the first to be affected by the demonic beasts on both sides. A few more people were killed by the demonic beasts. "The spiritual herbs are mine." The long-armed young man roared and used all his strength to rush out of the encirclement and into the depths of the canyon. At this moment, Lu Ming had already rushed into the depths of the canyon. Seeing the scene in front of him, Lu Ming was shocked, and then he was overjoyed. What appeared before his eyes was actually a medicinal field. Yes, even though an unknown amount of time had passed, one could still vaguely see that it was a medicinal field. There were 7 or 8 stalks of spiritual herbs growing in the medicinal field. Every stalk of spiritual medicine flickered with a faint spiritual glow, and every stalk emitted a rich medicinal fragrance. That's a 10,000-year-old blood ginseng and a phoenix-shaped Ganoderma. Lu Ming saw a few that he recognized at a glance. The 10,000-year blood ginseng was as thick as a child's arm. Its entire body was blood red, and it flickered with a blood-red light. It was obviously extraordinary. There was also a phoenix-shaped Lingji mushroom, which actually looked like a phoenix. It was vivid and lifelike, and its medicinal fragrance was extremely rich. These two spirit herbs were both level 5 spirit herbs. Furthermore, it looked like it had been around for a long time, and its medicinal power was extremely strong. There were a few other herbs that Lu Ming didn't recognize, but they didn't look any worse than the 10,000-year blood ginseng and the phoenix-shaped lingji mushroom. They were definitely level 5 spiritual herbs. Upper level 5. These spirit herbs are definitely upper level 5 spiritual herbs. Even a martial king would drool if he saw them. Lu Ming's eyes were shining. Ha! With these spirit herbs, my physical body will be able to break through to level 6. Wait a minute, what's that? Suddenly, Lu Ming's gaze fell on a small tree in the depths of the medicinal field. This small tree was not tall, only a little more than a meter tall. There was not a single leaf on the branches, but there were 9 fist-sized fruits hanging from it. The fruits were bright red and sparkling. Around the fruits, there was a dense, fiery red mist, as if a flame was burning and jumping. Could this be the red cinnabar fruit? Lu Ming's eyes suddenly widened, and he couldn't hide the crazy joy in his eyes. The red cinnabar fruit was a rare treasure of heaven and earth. It was said that if a martial arts grandmaster consumed it, his cultivation would rapidly increase without any side effects. Ha! God is helping me. With the red cinnabar fruit, my cultivation will increase by a level. Lu Ming was overjoyed. Whoosh! At that moment, the long-armed young man was flying towards him. Then his eyes flashed. He had obviously seen the spirit herbs and the red cinnabar fruit in the medicinal field. Red cinnabar fruit, that's the red cinnabar fruit. With these 9 red cinnabar fruits, my cultivation will definitely reach level 8 or even level 9 martial arts grandmaster. Then, I won't have to be afraid of anyone in the Dongming ancient battlefield. The long-armed young man roared in his heart, but in the next moment his face became ferocious, and he shouted, "Bastard, what are you doing? These spirit herbs are mine." Lu Ming pounced on the spirit herbs. Is there something wrong with this guy's head? Hearing the long-armed young man's words, Lu Ming was speechless and twitched his lips. With a wave of his hand, a vast amount of true qi surged out and turned into true qi shovels that dug out the 7 spirit herbs. Lu Ming waved his hand again, and the spirit herbs were all stored in the Temple of Paragon. Then Lu Ming pounced on the 9 red cinnabar fruits. "Bastard, stop it!" The long-armed young man's eyes turned red, and he roared in a frenzy as he pounced on Lu Ming. Heaven's palm. Lu Ming struck out with his palm. This time, Lu Ming unleashed his strongest combat strength. Great Ape King's divine fist. The long-armed young man punched out. Boom! There was a terrifying vibration, and the heaven's palm was pierced through. However, the long-armed young man's body was stopped for a moment. Whoosh! Lu Ming was sent flying by the force of the fist, and he happened to pass by the red cinnabar fruit. With a wave of his hand, Lu Ming kept the 9 red cinnabar fruits in the Temple of Paragon. Bam! Lu Ming's body slammed into the wall of the valley. His face turned pale, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. Hand over the spirit herbs and the red cinnabar fruits. The long-armed young man roared. "Idiot!" Lu Ming sneered and stepped into the sky. In an instant, he appeared in the sky. Then, he took another step and flew 10 miles away. "Bastard! Bastard! Stop right there!" The long-armed young man shouted hysterically. This was originally his opportunity. If he could use the red cinnabar fruit to increase his cultivation, he could use it as a foundation to fight for more resources. But now, it was all taken away by Lu Ming. Lu Ming ignored him and executed the 9 dragons' heaven-stomping steps. In the blink of an eye, he disappeared into the horizon without a trace. Damn it! Damn it! When I get out of the Dongming ancient battlefield, I'll lead a group of experts to the Cloud Emperor mountain range to find you and your family. I'll kill them all." The long-armed young man's eyes flashed with hatred. Then he gritted his teeth and pounced to save the other geniuses in the soaring Tiger Mountain range. Lu Ming was as fast as lightning. Soon, he arrived at a quiet place 10,000 miles away. With a thought, he appeared in the Temple of Paragon. "Now, let's start cultivating the myriad spirit battle body." Lu Ming's eyes lit up. He picked up the 10,000-year blood ginseng and started cultivating the myriad spirit battle body. Soon, the 10,000-year blood ginseng turned into wisps of myriad spirit chi and entered Lu Ming's body. Chapter 389. The effects of the level 5 superior grade elixir were too strong and rich. It constantly transformed into the aura of all spirits, nourishing Lu Ming's physical body. Lu Ming's physical body was glowing, sparkling, and dazzling. His chi and blood were full of vitality. A day later, the 10,000-year blood ginseng was completely refined. At this moment, Lu Ming's body trembled, and his bones emitted crisp sounds. His muscles were as taut as steel wires, making buzzing sounds. His body was breaking through the bottleneck. After half a day, the strange phenomenon disappeared, and Lu Ming opened his eyes. Rank 6 lower tier physical body. Lu Ming's eyes shone brightly, and he was delighted. After refining the upper LV5 spiritual medicine, Lu Ming's body had finally broken through. 6th grade physical body. Even some Martial King realm warriors had to specially cultivate their physical bodies in order to achieve such a level. What incredible power! Given his current fleshly body, combined with his Shen Qi, how strong would he be? With a thought, Lu Ming appeared outside the Temple of Paragon. It was already dusk of the second day. "I was safe last night. I was so stupid. I couldn't enter the Temple of Paragon because it was in danger. As long as I could enter the Temple of Paragon before night fell, I wouldn't have to dodge the attacks of the spirits." Lu Ming was stunned. He scolded himself for being stupid. Why did he have to fight with the spirits every night when he had the Temple of Paragon? "Let's test my strength first." The demon-suppressing spear appeared in Lu Ming's hand. He shook the spear and struck the ground. Boom! There was a loud boom, and the ground shook violently. The ground cracked, and debris flew. A spear-shaped trench appeared on the ground and extended forward. It extended for more than 200 meters before it stopped. A 10-meter deep and 200-meter long trench appeared on the ground. The power of a casual attack has increased a lot. Lu Ming was delighted. The attack just now was purely a combination of genuine chi and physical strength. He didn't use any martial skills or the power of wind and fire. Try something else. Next, Lu Ming added the power of wind and fire and started experimenting. After that, he continued to experiment with the 9 dragons ascending heaven steps and the heavenly path palm. It seems like my strongest battle prowess hasn't improved by much. I can't reach the level of a battle 5 genius. After a round of experiments, Lu Ming came to a conclusion. When using the 9 dragons' heaven-stomping steps, the impact on his physical body was quite significant. The breakthrough of his physical body had greatly increased the power of the 9 dragons' heaven-stomping steps, but it still did not surpass the heavenly law palm, only close to the power of the heavenly law palm. On the other hand, the might of the heaven's path palm did not increase by much. The power of the heavenly law palm was mainly due to the mysterious heavenly law aura. It did not have much to do with the physical body. Thus, the breakthrough of his physical body did not bring much improvement to the heaven's path palm. However, that didn't mean that Lu Ming's battle prowess didn't increase. His basic battle prowess had increased by a large margin, and the power of his ordinary martial skills had increased by a large margin. It could be said that Lu Ming didn't need to use the 9 dragons' heaven-stomping steps and the Heaven's Path palm. He mainly added the power of wind and fire, and his casual attack could reach or even surpass the power of a Battle 4 genius. Moreover, this was a battle that could last for a long time, unlike the Heaven's Path palm, which consumed a lot of energy. Although he didn't reach the level of a Battle 5 genius, Lu Ming was very satisfied. Continue to improve my physical body. In the next moment, Lu Ming returned to the Temple of Paragon and took out a level 5 spiritual medicine. He began to convert it into all spirit chi to improve his physical body. However, the energy required to improve his physical body to level 6 was too much. It was more than 10 times the energy required for a level 5 physical body. A day later, after Lu Ming had refined the spiritual medicine, his physical body had only improved a little. He didn't know how far he was from level 6 great achievement. Continue. Lu Ming continued to refine the spiritual medicine. Another 5 days passed, and the remaining 5 spiritual medicine were all refined. Lu Ming's physical body had only reached the peak of level 6 small achievement and had not broken through to level 6 great achievement. The energy required is too terrifying. I don't know how much more energy I need to cultivate to level 7 physical body. Forget it. Continue to refine those low-level spiritual medicine as well. After that, Lu Ming waved his hand, and a large pile of spiritual medicine appeared in front of him. It was like a small mountain. There were level 2, level 3, and level 4 spiritual medicine. They were all obtained from the storage rings of others he had killed. Refine. A strange aura appeared in Lu Ming's hands and enveloped a few hundred spiritual medicine. These spiritual medicine were too weak and couldn't be compared to level 5 spiritual medicine. Therefore, Lu Ming planned to refine a few hundred spiritual medicine at once. Buzz. Lu Ming operated the 1,000 spirit battle body technique. Some spiritual medicine shook and turned into ashes. The medicinal efficacy was absorbed by Lu Ming and transformed into 1,000 spirit chi, nourishing Lu Ming's physical body. In this way, Lu Ming continued to refine the spiritual medicine. Time flew and another 10 days passed. In these 10 days, Lu Ming had refined no less than 10,000 spiritual medicine of all levels. He had swept away all the spiritual medicine accumulated during this period. At this time, Lu Ming's physical body had reached the peak of level 6 great achievement and was still a little bit away from level 6 great achievement. This made Lu Ming sigh. Cultivating the physical body really burned money. The value of so many spiritual medicine was simply unimaginable. However, the improvement of the physical body was not very great. Well, the physical body has reached this point. I'll stop for a while. Now, I'll improve my cultivation. Lu Ming's eyes flickered, and he took out a red fruit. The 9 dragons' bloodline swallowed it and refined it to improve his cultivation. The red fruit was indeed an invaluable treasure to improve one's cultivation. Its energy was extremely abundant, and it continuously refined genuine chi. Lu Ming's cultivation rose rapidly. Not long after, Lu Ming reached the late stage of martial ancestor realm late realm and continued to improve. 3 days later, all 9 red fruits were refined. Lu Ming's cultivation broke through to the early stage of martial ancestor realm, early realm, martial ancestor realm. 9 red fruits. If it were someone else, they would be able to improve their cultivation by 2 levels. However, for me, it's not even 1 level. Lu Ming smiled wryly. Every time he improved, he would need a lot of energy. However, there was an advantage. The cultivation that the red fruits increased was extremely pure, and his foundation was stable. Lu Ming could continue to devour the blood essence of beasts to improve his cultivation. He did not need to spend time to strengthen his foundation. I've been in seclusion for more than 20 days. It's time to go out for a walk. Thinking of this, Su Mo left the Temple of Paragon. It was still daytime outside. Lu Ming turned into a ray of light and headed west. Next, Lu Ming wandered around during the day to look for opportunities. Before night fell, he entered the Temple of Paragon to comprehend the force and cultivate his martial skills. In the blink of an eye, another 7 days passed. There were not many disturbances during these 7 days. There's a city in front. Lu Ming saw a city in front of him. Lu Ming turned into a ray of light and flew toward the city. This city is huge. Chapter 390. This was considered a big city in the Dongming ancient battlefield. Lu Ming noticed many figures in the air. With a slight movement, Zhang Xian landed in the city. He sensed that there were powerful auras surging in some of the buildings in the city. It was obvious that many young geniuses were cultivating in seclusion. Lu Ming pondered for a moment, and then walked toward the place with the most auras. Soon, Lu Ming arrived at the center of the city. There were many people gathered there. Ancient remnant weapon. I obtained it in a secret place. It still contains a trace of spirituality. I want to exchange it for a piece of meteoric metal. An ancient pill recipe from the Dongming ancient battlefield. It must be a top-quality item. I only want an Earth-class superior martial technique. Take it. Lu Ming heard shouts as soon as he arrived. It was as if he had arrived at a market in the outside world. Lu Ming was stunned for a moment. He then pulled a young girl to the side and asked about it. The young girl was kind enough to give a rough explanation. Lu Ming was enlightened. This was equivalent to a small market. The first 3 months of the Ditian Divine Guard selection were for people to gain experience, find opportunities, and raise their cultivation. During this period, everyone might gain something and obtain some treasures. However, they might not be able to use them. Therefore, in some large cities, many geniuses would gather together and take out treasures that they didn't need to exchange for treasures that others needed. Therefore, there was a small market in front of him. Lu Ming's interest was piqued. He wandered around the place to see if he could find what he needed. There were about 500 to 600 people here. They were shouting nonstop. Moreover, the items they took out were also strange. It was an eye-opener for Lu Ming. However, Lu Ming did not see anything that interested him. "Beast, it's you!" Suddenly, a furious roar rang out. In the next moment, Lu Ming felt a cold aura shrouding him. Lu Ming quickly turned around and saw a few young men striding toward him. Lu Ming could not help but laugh. Wasn't this the long-armed young man from the flying Tiger Mountain range? They were really enemies on the road. As the saying goes, when enemies meet, their eyes turn red. At this moment, the long-armed young man's eyes were filled with hatred. He glared at Lu Ming and said, "Little bastard, I did not expect to meet you here. This time, I will not let you escape. Also, where are the spiritual herbs? Hurry up and hand them over. Otherwise, you'll die a horrible death." The long-armed young man said sinisterly, "Are you stupid? So many days have passed, and you still have spirit herbs? It's already in my stomach and turned into shit. You want it? If you really want it, I still vaguely remember where it is. I can take you there. I just didn't expect your taste to be so heavy," Lu Ming said with a smile. Humiliation, this was a blatant humiliation. The long-armed young man's eyes turned red in an instant. The bloodline in his body burst out, and a violent aura rose up. "Die! Die, beast, die for me!" The long-armed young man roared. Whoosh! Lu Ming soared into the sky and floated in the air. saying, "If you want to fight, come up." Whoosh! The long-armed young man also soared into the sky. Their actions naturally alarmed the others. That's Flying Ape from the Flying Tiger Mountain Range. He's the strongest person in the Flying Tiger Mountain Range. It's said that he's a triple battle genius. Who's the other person? He dares to fight Flying Ape? Is he also the strongest person in a certain area? I don't know. I don't know him. The others discussed and stared at the sky with their eyes wide open. In the sky, Lu Ming and the long-armed young man, Flying Ape, stood opposite each other. Whoosh! Whoosh! Suddenly, the two of them moved at the same time. They turned into two streaks of light and charged at each other. Then, they collided in the air, like two meteors crashing into each other. Boom! There was an earth-shattering explosion, and the two figures retreated quickly. Kill! Great Ape King's divine fist. Flying Ape roared again and charged at Lu Ming, throwing out a punch. A terrifying fist light instantly pierced the sky and blasted at Lu Ming. 9 dragons stomping the sky. Lu Ming's figure glowed as he stomped his foot forward. The space around his foot vibrated vigorously, which transformed into a violent force that surged forward. Bang! This time, an even more shocking tremor spread out. The momentum was vast and shocking to the extreme. Whoosh! Following this, a figure flew backward, like a meteor. It was Flying Ape. Flying Ape has been defeated. Flying Ape has been defeated. Who exactly is he? How terrifying! Could he be a genius from one of the higher kingdoms? Didn't you notice? His cultivation is only at the early stage of the 6th-layer martial ancestor realm, but he was able to defeat Flying Ape. How many battles has he fought? Heavens, I wouldn't have realized it if you didn't mention it. It's true, isn't it too terrifying? Below him, the geniuses inhaled deeply. Flying Ape flew 1,000 meters in the air and stopped in midair. Blood flowed out from his mouth as his eyes were filled with disbelief. Impossible! He let out a roar. He was a genius who had fought 3 battles and was the strongest in the soaring Tiger Mountain Range. Countless geniuses were trash in front of him. He had always been the one to defeat those with higher cultivation, but now it was Lu Ming who had defeated him. He could not accept it. Nothing is impossible. Lu Ming let out a roar as he sprang into the air and appeared above Flying Ape. He looked down from above and took a step forward. Bang! It was as if an ancient godly mountain was crashing down from the sky. Block it! Flying Ape let out a loud roar. At that instant, his body began to expand rapidly. His body was bulky and his arms were thick, making him look like a giant ape. It was a secret technique that could temporarily increase one's combat strength. Devour! Lu Ming controlled the 9 dragons' bloodline and unleashed a powerful devouring force on Flying Ape. Flying Ape's body shuddered as he felt his bloodline and blood essence vibrating, as if they were about to leave his body. His aura dropped instantly. Bang! At that instant, the 9 dragons' sky-stomping steps collided with Flying Ape. Flying Ape let out a cry of agony as his body fell to the ground like a cannonball. There was a large group of ancient houses there. Bang! Flying Ape crashed into the houses, causing the ground to tremble violently. Heaven's Path Palm. Almost at the same time, Lu Ming struck out with his palm. The Heaven's Path Palm condensed and slammed down. Flying Ape had just rushed out from below when he saw the Heaven's Path Palm coming at him. He immediately let out a cry of horror and despair. He was already injured and was no match for the Heaven's Path Palm. Like a fly, he was suppressed by the Heaven's Path Palm. There was another earth-shattering rumble as a large group of ancient houses were destroyed. Smoke and dust filled the air as gravel flew everywhere. Die! Lu Ming's eyes were cold as he continuously condensed a dozen spears in his hand. They were thrown out by Lu Ming and turned into a dozen lightning bolts that shot downward. Ah! There was a shrill cry, and then there was silence. There were many figures floating in the air above the city. At that moment, they were all stunned, and their eyes were filled with shock. Chapter 391. What happened to the flying ape? Hundreds of pairs of eyes stared at the ground, waiting for the result. Soon, the dust settled, and the scene below was revealed. First, there was a giant palm print that was dozens of meters long and wide. In the huge palm print, the flying ape lay there like a dead dog. There were several long spears that were condensed from spiritual chi piercing through his body and nailing him to the ground. The flying ape's eyes were wide open, and they were filled with indignation. However, he was no longer breathing. He was dead. The flying ape had been killed. He was the most powerful person in the area and a genius who had won 3 battles. He had been killed just like that. Everyone gasped and felt a chill run down their spines. Even in large regions and empires, 3 World War III geniuses were extremely rare. They were exceptionally powerful. If such a person did not die, it would not be a problem for him to break through to the martial king realm in the future. He might even reach a higher realm. However, he had died just like that. Everything was for naught. A general success was built on thousands of bones. Every top powerhouse had stepped on piles of bones and other geniuses' corpses to reach their current heights. At that moment, the other young men who had come with the flying ape from the flying Tiger Mountain range were trembling in fear, and their faces were pale. They had left secretly. The flying ape was already dead. If they stayed, wouldn't they be courting death? Lu Ming could not be bothered with those small fries. He moved and appeared beside the flying ape's corpse. He used his true chi to sweep up the storage ring and devour the blood essence. Then Lu Ming soared into the sky and left. Lu Ming landed in the north of the city. He found a room and walked in. Then he appeared in the Temple of Paragon. During this period, he had obtained too many storage rings and had not carefully cleaned them. He had only roughly cleaned them and removed the spiritual herbs. As for the spiritual crystals and spiritual weapons, he did not have time to clean them up. During this period, Lu Ming had obtained many storage rings left behind by Martial Ancestor Realm 5, Martial Ancestor Realm, and above. There were too many things inside. Lu Ming checked them one by one. There were many lower spiritual crystals, middle spiritual crystals, and even upper spiritual crystals. A middle-grade spiritual crystal was equivalent to 100 lower-grade spiritual crystals. One upper spiritual crystal was equivalent to 100 middle spiritual crystals or 10,000 lower spiritual crystals. Lu Ming put the spirit crystals into several storage rings. Lu Ming didn't count them carefully, but if all the spirit crystals were converted to low-grade spirit crystals, Lu Ming estimated that it would be no less than 1 billion spirit crystals. Yes, 1 billion spirit crystals. During this period of time, Lu Ming had accumulated too many spirit crystals and had not spent them all. Lu Ming calculated that once the Tian Divine Guard selection was over, he would go out and purchase a large amount of demonic beast blood essence to raise the grade of his bloodline. Other than spirit crystals, there were also many spirit weapons. Of course, the spiritual grass had already been refined by Lu Ming. There were also some refining materials, secret manuals, and all kinds of miscellaneous things piled up in several storage rings. However, there wasn't anything too precious, and it wasn't of much help to Lu Ming. After these things were cleaned up, more than a day had passed. Lu Ming then left the Temple of Paragon and strolled on the streets. Swoosh, swoosh. However, Not long after Lu Ming walked on the streets, the sound of something breaking through the air could be heard. Figures flew over and stopped in front of Lu Ming. Lu Ming frowned. These people weren't in the same group, but in 3 groups. It was obvious that they were from 3 different forces. However, what was the meaning of these 3 forces standing in front of him? He had never seen these people before. "Brother, please don't misunderstand. I am Han Valley's Han Lu Mu." One of the groups was mostly dressed in snow-white robes. Among them, a young man in his mid-20s cupped his fists and smiled at Lu Ming. Han Valley. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. Lu Ming had heard of this region before. It was a small region, not much bigger than the Cloud Emperor mountain range. Han Lu Mu's aura was extraordinary. He might be the strongest person in the Han Valley. "I am Wu Hui from Mingyan Peak. I am Yi Tianan from Yankai Lake." The other 2 groups of people cupped their fists at Lu Ming. Obviously, these 2 people were the leaders of their respective forces. "Mingyan Peak, Yankai Lake," Lu Ming muttered. These 2 regions were also small regions, just like the Han Valley. However, Lu Ming had never interacted with people from these regions. Why were they looking for him? "May I know your name?" Han Lu Mu smiled. "Lu Ming," Lu Ming said. There was nothing to hide about a name. "So it's Brother Lu. We have something to discuss with Brother Lu. Can we talk in private?" Han Lu Mu said, and pointed to the sky. "What's the matter? There's no harm in talking here." Lu Ming frowned and said, "Brother Lu, this involves an ancient ruin. I'm afraid it's not good to let others know." Yi Tianan from Yankai Lake whispered. "Ancient ruin?" Lu Ming raised his eyebrows and felt even more strange. Could it be that these people were looking for him to ask for his help? "All right." Immediately, Lu Ming nodded and flew into the sky. Han Lu Mu, Yi Tianan, and Wu Hui also flew into the sky. Lu Ming was not afraid of any tricks. Although Han Lu Mu and the other 2 gave off a strong feeling, they were even stronger than the flying ape. However, Lu Ming was not afraid. Even if the 3 of them joined hands, and he was no match for them, it wouldn't be too difficult for him to escape. "Speak, why are you looking for me? I don't believe that you guys would be so kind as to find me in an ancient ruin." In the sky, Lu Ming went straight to the point. "Brother Lu, don't misunderstand. Because opening the ancient ruin requires 4 keys. The 3 of us each have 1 key, and the 4th key is in Brother Lu's hands." Han Lu Mu smiled. "In my hands?" Lu Ming was stunned. "Ha! To be honest, Brother Lu, that key was originally on the flying ape. Since you killed the flying ape and took his storage ring, that key is naturally in Brother Lu's hands." Han Lu Mu smiled. "So that's how it is." Lu Ming suddenly understood. "Brother Lu, did you see a tiger-shaped palm-sized key in the flying ape's storage ring?" Han Lu Mu asked. Lu Ming's eyes flashed. Then, with a move of his hand, a black, palm-sized, tiger-shaped iron token appeared in his hand. "Is it this one?" Lu Ming asked. When he was sorting out the items, he did find this iron token in the flying ape's storage ring. However, he didn't know what it was used for, so he threw it aside. Could it be an ancient ruin key? "It's this one." Han Lu Mu and the others were overjoyed when they saw it. Then, their hands glowed, and a dragon-shaped iron token, a tortoise-shaped iron token, and a phoenix-shaped iron token respectively appeared in their hands. The 4 keys have been gathered. That ancient ruin can finally be opened. Han Lu Mu was overjoyed. Chapter 392. It turned out that they had stumbled upon an ancient ruin. According to speculation, it was the cave of an expert from the Dongming ancient battlefield. However, the cave was covered with inscriptions, making it impossible to enter. Only by gathering all 4 keys could one enter. Previously, including Flying Ape, 3 people had arrived. They had been waiting for Wu Hui from Bright Beauty Peak. Until today, Wu Hui from Bright Beauty Peak had arrived. However, the tiger-shaped key had fallen into Lu Ming's hands. That was why they had come to find Lu Ming. Lu Ming nodded. That made sense. Brother Lu, now that you have the tiger-shaped key, you naturally have a share of the ancient ruin. How about we explore it together? Han Liamu said. All right, when do we depart? Lu Ming asked. In a few hours we can depart. Han Liamu and the others were overjoyed. Brother Lu, you can make some preparations. We'll meet outside the city in 3 hours. Yi Tianen said. Lu Ming nodded. Then everyone dispersed. Lu Ming casually strolled around and returned to his previous room. He closed his eyes and rested. 3 hours later, his figure flashed and headed outside the city. When he arrived outside the city, he noticed that Han Liamu, Wu Hui, and Yi Tianen had already arrived. There were a total of 100 people from the 3 forces, and Lu Ming was alone, which made him seem quite special. If Lu Ming had not killed the flying ape in a domineering manner a few days ago and displayed shocking combat abilities, most probably no one would take him seriously. Brother Lu, you're here. Han Liamu was overjoyed. Lu Ming nodded and said, then let's depart. Immediately, more than 100 people rose into the air and flew towards the north. For hours later, they had already flown for more than 100,000 miles. The surrounding environment was getting more and more remote. There were mountains and ridges everywhere. After flying for another few thousand miles, a majestic mountain range appeared in front of them. This mountain range was endless, like a sleeping dragon. The group landed at the top of the mountain range. At the foot of the mountain, there was a huge stone door. The stone door was tightly shut. This is the ancient era's ruin. That stone door is the entrance. However, even after using all of our strength, we were unable to break open the stone door by even a tiny bit. We could only use the key to activate the inscriptions on the 4 statues to enter. Han Liamu pointed in front of the stone door. Lu Ming looked in that direction. True enough, he saw 4 statues outside the stone door. The 4 statues were the azure dragon, the white tiger, the vermilion bird, and the black tortoise. It corresponded to their 4 keys. Lu Ming, Han Liamu, Yi Tianen, and Wu Hui looked at each other and flew forward. Lu Ming arrived in front of the white tiger statue. Then a metal plate appeared in each of their hands. Open! The 4 of them shouted and activated their true chi. Their true chi poured into the iron plate. The 4 metal plates immediately emitted a hazy radiance. In the next moment, the 4 statues also began to emit light. Inscriptions appeared one after another, flowing with brilliant colors. The glow of the statue and the glow of the 4 iron medallions resonated with each other. Then, the light from the 4 statues gathered together and shot toward the stone door. Crack, crack! When the light hit the stone door, it began to emit cracking sounds and slowly opened. Ha ha! The ancient era's ruin has opened. We didn't wait for nothing. At this moment, an excited laugh came from the distant sky. Numerous black figures were rapidly approaching from afar. Not good. The mantis stalks the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind. We've been targeted. Han Liamu's face changed. They're from the serene demon palace. Lu Ming's eyes flashed. In the distant sky, the figures that were flying over at high speed were all dressed in black skeleton robes. Wasn't that the uniform of the Serene Devil Hall? Serene Demon Palace. It's the Serene Demon Palace. The geniuses from Hangu, Radiant Peak, and the other 2 forces exclaimed. Since you opened the ancient era's ruin, I can let you go. Hurry up and get lost. A cold voice came from afar. The people from the serene demon palace were very fast. At first, they were still dozens of miles away, but now they were close and would arrive soon. Hee hee. Lu Ming sneered and reached out to grab the tiger-shaped key. His figure flashed and rushed toward the stone door like lightning. Who is it? Damn it, how dare you rush in? You're courting death. A furious roar could be heard. It's him? I can see that he killed a few of our junior brothers. One of them sent me an image. It's that brat. A cold voice sounded. Let's rush in too. Han Lu Mu gritted his teeth and rushed toward the stone door. Then Yi Tianen and No Return's forces rushed toward the stone door. All of this took a long time to describe, but in fact, it only took a few breaths. Whoosh, whoosh. When Yi Tianen and the others rushed through the stone door, more than 100 figures appeared in front of the stone door. They were all experts from the serene demon palace. The person in the lead was slender and had a cold expression. His body exuded a terrifying aura. His aura was several times stronger than the flying ape. Charge! The cold youth ordered. In an instant, more than 100 people from the serene demon palace rushed through the stone door. But once they entered the stone door, they couldn't help but stop. This was because there were 4 paths in front of them. They didn't know where they led. Eldest senior brother, what should we do? A 2-meter-tall young man looked at the cold-looking young man. This cold youth was the strongest expert from the serene demon palace. You Feiyu. Split up and chase. Junior brother Feisher, you take some people and chase this path. Junior brother Fei, you take some people and chase this path. You Feiyu immediately ordered. Okay, I'll make whoever takes this path regret it. The tall youth shouted coldly and led 20 youths to the leftmost path. There was a path with a white tiger carved on it, and they disappeared in the blink of an eye. The others from the serene demon palace also led their people and chased after the 3 paths. Once Lu Ming dashed through the stone door, he dashed toward the leftmost path without hesitation. It was the path with the white tiger engraved on it. The path was very long. After rushing for more than 10 miles, he found something strange. There were a few stone rooms on both sides of the path. Lu Ming walked in and took a look. He was a little disappointed. From these stone rooms, it wasn't difficult to tell that this should be an alchemy room. However, too much time had passed, and everything inside had turned to dust. Even the alchemy furnace had decayed, and nothing was left. Lu Ming didn't stop and continued to move forward. Suddenly, his body came to an abrupt stop. This was because he felt as if his body had suddenly become many times heavier. It was as if there was an endless pressure acting on his body. There's an inscription array in this area that produces an extremely strong pressure. It's not easy to walk, let alone fly. Lu Ming thought to himself. He tensed his body and circulated his true qi to resist the pressure outside and continued to move forward. However, this greatly reduced Lu Ming's speed. Chapter 393. Lu Ming walked onto the platform and felt a wave of hot air blowing against his face. It was as if he was in a furnace. There was a deep pit in front of the platform, and the path ahead was blocked. In the deep pit, scorching heat waves were constantly rising. Lu Ming walked to the edge of the platform and realized that the deep pit was circular and had a diameter of at least 1,000 meters. There were flames at the bottom of the pit. The strange thing was that the flames had 3 colors. The flames danced in the air and were dazzling. Is this the tricolored primordial flame? Lu Ming's eyes flickered. Tricolored primordial flame was a special flame in heaven and earth. It was much more magical than ordinary flames and was much more powerful. There was another platform on the opposite side of the deep pit. There was a passageway in front of the platform that led to an unknown place. Lu Ming furrowed his brows. If he was outside, he would be able to cross the distance of 1,000 meters with a slight sway of his body. But here, he was suppressed by the inscription array. He could not even cross 100 meters, let alone 1,000 meters. Lu Ming then found 2 chains on the left and right sides of the deep pit. Could it be that I crossed through these 2 chains? Lu Ming pondered. Thud, thud, thud. At that moment, there was a rush of footsteps. Then, more than 20 youths from the Serene Demon Hall appeared. The leader was the tall youth, Euphasor. When Euphasor saw Lu Ming, he immediately roared, "Brat, Senior Brother Feiyu said that you killed many disciples of the Serene Demon Hall. How dare you kill disciples of the Serene Demon Hall? You're courting death." Then, together with the tall youth, the 21 youths rushed toward Lu Ming. Each of the 21 youths exuded a powerful aura, especially the leader, Euphasor, whose aura was extremely terrifying. Early stage of the martial ancestor realm. Lu Ming frowned. Euphasor's cultivation had reached the early stage of the martial ancestor realm. The other 3 youths had reached the peak of the martial ancestor realm. Their auras were even stronger than Fei Yuan's. Lu Ming did not doubt that each of them was a Battle 3 genius. Other than these 4 people, the remaining dozen or so people were not weak either. 21 people quickly closed in on Lu Ming. "Die, brat!" Euphasor revealed a sinister smile as a brilliant sword light shot towards Lu Ming. There was no doubt that his terrifying attack power was displayed. He was definitely a Battle 3 genius. Don't take it head on. Lu Ming's mind raced. An early-stage martial ancestor realm, 8th layer martial ancestor realm cultivator, in addition to the triple battle genius, had surpassed him in terms of battle prowess. If he were to take the attack head-on, he would be at a disadvantage. Lu Ming's figure flashed, trying to avoid the sword light. Chi-chi. In the next moment, the sound of air being torn apart was heard as dozens of sword lights enveloped him. 9 dragons stomping the heavens. Lu Ming took a step forward, and space trembled. Bang! Bang! More than a dozen sword lights instantly shattered, but there were still a few sword lights that stubbornly held on and continued to slash towards Lu Ming. Lu Ming's figure flashed continuously. Puchi! There was still a sword light that hit him, leaving a sword wound on his chest that was bleeding profusely. Underworld demonic life and death sword. Die! Euphasor shouted as he slashed out with his sword. 1 black and 1 white sword light shot out, enveloping Lu Ming. There was no way to avoid it. This sword had completely locked onto Lu Ming, and there was no way to avoid it. Heaven's Path Palm. Lu Ming struck out with his palm, and a huge palm print blasted forward. Bang! First, it was the black sword light that emitted a sharp killing intent that collided with the Heaven's Path palm print. With a loud boom, the black sword light dissipated, but the Heaven's Path palm print was also pierced through. The white sword light flashed and continued to attack Lu Ming. Block it! His long spear shook, and the spear light shot out like a dragon. Boom! The spear light and sword chi swept out in all directions. The demon-banishing spear in Lu Ming's hand actually bent, and an extremely powerful force surged towards Lu Ming. Lu Ming's body involuntarily retreated. Behind him was the deep pit that contained the tricolored primordial fire. Lu Ming's body floated out of the platform, and his body was suspended in the air. Below him, a scorching aura surged up. At the critical moment, Lu Ming waved his hand, and a chain formed from true chi wrapped around the iron chains on both sides of the deep pit. Still want to struggle? Die! Euphasor slashed out a few more sword chi, aiming at Lu Ming's true chi chain. Puchi! The true chi chain was cut apart, and Lu Ming's body fell rapidly into the deep pit. You dare to kill someone from the serene demon palace, and you'll be buried in a sea of fire. Consider yourself lucky. Yu Feisher watched as Lu Ming's body disappeared into the sea of fire, and he sneered. The tricolored primordial fire's temperature was terrifying. It was dozens or even hundreds of times stronger than ordinary flames. Lu Ming used his true qi to block it, but it was useless. His true qi began to burn. One should know that he cultivated the true qi of the true dragon of combat arts, which was much stronger than ordinary true qi. If he could not block it, ordinary true qi would be burned to ashes in an instant. Even so, Lu Ming could not hold on for long. Endless tricolored primordial fire burned fiercely in all directions, and it was extremely hot. Lu Ming's true qi was rapidly depleted, and some parts of his true qi were even burned through. The scorching flames surged in, and Lu Ming's body made sizzling sounds. If his body had not reached rank 6 upper tier, he would have been burned to a crisp. What should I do? If this goes on, I'll die. Lu Ming's mind raced as he tried to think of a way to escape. It was difficult to fly here. Lu Ming's body kept falling, and the lower he fell, the stronger the tricolored primordial fire became. If this went on, he would not be able to hold on for long. At this moment, something strange happened. Lu Ming's glabella glowed, and something suddenly rushed out. It's the stone egg. Lu Ming was shocked. Wasn't the stone egg that had rushed out of his glabella the heaven gate in the Qianjiang water region? He could sense a weak life aura from this stone egg. However, Lu Ming had used all kinds of methods, but could not make the stone egg react at all. Lu Ming had thought that this was a useless egg, but now the stone egg had rushed out of the Temple of Paragon. Most importantly, he had placed the stone egg in the Temple of Paragon, and the stone egg had rushed out of the Temple of Paragon on its own. This was incredible. Buzz! The stone egg flew out and floated above Lu Ming's head. It shook slightly, and immediately a cool aura spread out and enveloped Lu Ming. Immediately, Lu Ming felt that the flames around him had retreated, and he felt cool all over without any heat. Although he was still falling, the tricolored primordial fire could no longer hurt him. His body continued to fall, and in the blink of an eye, he had fallen a few thousand meters. Suddenly, the surroundings changed, and Lu Ming rushed out of the tricolored primordial fire's area. Dozens of meters below, Lu Ming saw the ground. He flew down and landed on the ground. He looked up, and there seemed to be a barrier dozens of meters above, blocking the tricolored primordial fire. Where is this? Then Lu Ming looked around.